try to relax your anus.
Ow! And Slopes is here, I think, anyway. Are you connected now? It says you're not connected audio.
I should be fine now.
Now you are fine. It's a roll of the dice with Zoom, but Zoom is still better than friggin' Discord with this.
Yes, mate. Yes. I'll turn you double then. Let me just turn you down. Well, cheers for having me on and all that jazz. Thanks for watching through the video.
Well, dude, it's great because like now I could ask you questions of things that maybe that I missed, or because I know a lot of this lore. But how long did this fucking video take you to work on, man?
Okay, so I mean, properly working on it since October, but I was rendering it the day I released it, so it was like literally to the minute.
Holy shit!
Yeah, but I mean, I kept trying to start it before then. The problem was, oh, cool, you're showing the screen, wicked.
Yeah, so you could hear it, and everything too, so it's not just you're lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I kept trying to start it beforehand, but the problem was, see, I always like to do the complete history, you know, like the full story. The problem with doing that is you become the last person to tell the story. So I was like, oh, when do I do it? When do I do it? And I was like tossing up the idea. Yes, I should. No, I shouldn't. And then I finally, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then test units started going out. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, it's never going to end. This is never going to end. So I'm like, I can't do it now. I can't do it now. And then I finally started, and then the H-Bomber Guy video came out, and I was very thankful that he actually only talked about the Amico for like 10 minutes. So I was like, wicked.
He just went into how much time, like, this is perfect because you go into the Amico in and of itself, which you probably could have made a 7-hour video. It's just amazing how much shit there is that's there. But he went into just, he almost did you a favor because that was the perfect primer. Now everyone knows that Tommy is a perpetual liar or a pathological liar.
Oh, for sure, man.
So it kind of gave you a beach volleyball metaphorically. Like, we know that Tommy's a liar. Now let's see what he did with the Amico.
Yeah. When I watched it and realized, like I said, it was only like 10 minutes or so. I'm like, right, there's a lot more to go through. So like I'd spoken to a few of what definitely Tommy would class as the quote unquote haters about this. Basically I would constantly say to them, okay, look, I've got this. Can you help me find when this happened or whatever else? Because I had to double check everything. Because I know he's watched it, and I want to make sure it's factual. You know what I mean? I've got proof of everything.
He would want to come after you with a vengeance, man. Like you know that he went into my DMs and before he blocked me, said that I need psychological help. I'm sure you've heard that before. Yeah. It's. I just went through this actually because I literally just had a stream and it ended with me watching you watching me. So I was like, this is weird. I'm gonna just get hold of you because this is quite a weird stream. It's painful. Like, as much as I'm very happy with the success of the video and how it turned out and blah blah blah. Oh, this will probably get 500,000 views if you give it like a year. To be honest with you.
Oh mate, I hope so. But like from a personal point of view, it's actually a really painful video to make. I'm not going to go as far as to say that Tommy Tallarico was a hero of mine as a kid, but he was definitely someone I heavily looked up to. I knew the name Tommy Tallarico before I knew the name Shigeru Miyamoto. Like,
really? Oh shit.
Well, I went to a school with 70 kids. There was 11 children in my year. The year above me had 2 children. We would share classes with years below and above me. It was like there was no one at this school, and not one person had a Nintendo. Everyone had a Sega system, like a Mega Drive or a Master System, or a home computer or a PC.
It's so weird how in the UK that was different. Yeah, there was I don't know if you know Steve Benway from YouTube. He's been around forever. He has a smaller channel. Yeah, he was saying like the NES that you guys call it over there was like not really a big thing.
No,
it wasn't.
I know now looking back, I think I can remember seeing them, but I reckon I played Mario, but that was it.
Dude, in the States, they were like people had them like 3 of them in their houses.
Oh, I know.
Like, the NES is ridiculous here.
But this is why I wanted to become a YouTuber. I went into like this retro game store just before I became a YouTuber, and it was one of the final drives. And I remember hearing all these, not even kids, like early 20-year-olds. And they were like, oh man, yeah, the video game crash of 1983 and how Bomberman was a big deal and all this. And I'm just like, none of that was true. Like, for us.
Not over there, yeah. The crash was a states-only thing, really.
Yeah, but because when you guys were buying 50 quid Atari games, or however much they were, we were buying £1.99 tapes. And then we were so tight, we would borrow other people's tapes and make copies. Like, that was how tight we were. No way. If I bought a game for £1.99 and it was crap, I'm kind of okay with that, even back then.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's not, whereas an NES game, even back in the day, was $40-50 in the States, and that was in Reagan money. So think about it. If you account for inflation, you were dropping a lot of coin on a game that you had no idea if it sucked ass or not.
Yeah, before the internet, obviously. So yeah.
You had box art and a prayer, and maybe one TV show that you would occasionally catch that might give you an honest opinion.
I remember it was the biggest deal when my mum bought me Turtles, the not the arcade one, the old school NES one, but the home computer version for the Amstrad, because it was a £7.99 game. That felt like £100 back then, but that was like the top of the end. That was like the top of the range games for like the Amstrads and the home computers, £7.99, because every game was either 99p, £1.99, or I would just essentially pirate them off other people and make mixtapes of tapes of games. Yeah,
that even happened with like IBM PCs. Like my dad's friend would come with a floppy disk full of games, and he would just copy them, and so that. But yeah, like a lot of people don't realize that the game crash was really only a United States thing. Now, if the game crash was permanent? I know we're going off on a totally different subject here, guys. Now, if the game crash in the States was permanent, no, it's okay. Who cares? They loved it. I think they like talking about this shit. It probably would have had a ripple effect around the world, but the crash was really just like things were fine in other parts of the world with gaming.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
I mean, we had like porn games and bargain bins for the 2600 here.
Yeah, Tommy liked bringing that up,
Literally.
didn't he, with the 14-year-old boy as well, didn't he, the porn game thing?
Yes, we came in at the perfect time. Yes,
right,
we're gonna.
Okay.
This is where he's doing the. I was just saying to my audience, I have no idea if he actually gave money to charity. I have no idea what happened with that. None. He could have very well not have. He could have. We can't trust Tommy's word, obviously.
See, I've heard you say this before. And these were things that were added into the script and taken out. I was going to add the line, there was no proof that he ever did that. But in my mind, it was like, why do I need to add that? Like, because it's just making him look worse when really all I'm doing here is just poking. There's no proof of this. Let's just keep it to the facts. So
that's the smartest thing to do. Yeah. Because especially with someone like him, like, what happened with the guy with Ars Technica, because they screwed up and publicly put out the specs. He was looking to destroy that guy when he was just being a fucking journalist. So, yeah, you treading carefully if something doesn't have facts behind it is smart.
Yeah. Sorry, as I was saying, I went off on a tangent. As a youngster, I knew the name Tommy Tallarico before I knew the name of like Shigeru Miyamoto, because I just didn't play Nintendo games, but I was in love with Global Gladiators and Earthworm Jim and Aladdin and stuff like that, and reading in magazines, I would see interviews with him and stuff like that. So I knew of his name before others, it's the same as when I did my Kick Scammer video on John Kay, the creator of Ren and Stimpy. Like my youth was brought up with Ren and Stimpy. I loved Ren and Stimpy. A lot of my humor was based on. But I'd never spoken to John Kay. And I'd done a video on him, like exposing him, talking about his paedophilic ways and like all of the horrible stuff that happened with his Kickstarter and stuff. And it was all linked in. And then he finally contacted me, and I'm like, this sucks. I've just told 10-year-old me that this is how I'm talking to John Kay. Like, it was such a weird mind fuck for me. Like, he deserved what he got, but at the same time, I'm like, as a kid, he was a hero of mine. And because of me, I'm exposing him.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. Like, when you're a fan of someone or something, but you know you have a job to do and you have to do it, and you can't be biased. You got to be real. And yeah, John, I grew up with Ren and Stimpy too. Some of the funniest shit came from Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
John
I've literally just started showing it to my son because he wanted to know who it was. These characters in the game he was playing. I went, I'll show you Ren and Stimpy because I've got like the first seasons on DVD, and I was showing him the one with the nerve endings in his teeth, and he's pulling them out with toothpicks.
Yes.
And my son was like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "It's still got that effect. It's still got that effect." You've got to separate the art from the artist in some instances. It's the only way.
And a lot of people can't. A lot of people can't.
Shall I tell you one really? Sorry, go on. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll say, do you want to know one really messed up thing about that John Kay thing? So I don't know if you watched my video on that, but basically the idea was I spend $30. It was the first Kickstarter I ever backed. You spend $30 and he'll send you a random bit of art from his scrapbook on lined paper. It was just like literally some scribbles. And you don't know what you're going to get. I actually got Ren and Stimpy. So I got an original picture of Ren and Stimpy from John Kay, all signed. And there's this picture of this girl that they're like in like sort of Flintstone underwear, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this, you know, it was done as stereotypical, you know, big breasts, like massive eyes, girl. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. So I had that framed on my wall, and I did the video, and I talk about how, you know, he's a paedophile. And when I say paedophile, like, I think it was around that 14, 13-year-old, that era, roughly. It's been a while since I've made it. It's messed up. Someone messaged me afterwards and goes, the picture he sent you is his drawing of his girlfriend. And I'm like, fuck no.
Like, yeah, how could you keep that up? It's so weird.
I know. And I'm like looking, I'm like, I've got Ren and Stimpy artwork from the creator and a picture of the girl that he potentially, I don't know if that's true, but if
allegedly, we'll say, yeah.
It was painful, like, ugh. Yes, anyway.
Yeah.
And now I know that Tommy Tallarico is going to see this, and I just it's a very, very weird place mindset to be in.
Oh, you know he's watching all of this shit. Yeah. He may be hidden online and trying to go do I wonder how we'll get back into the video, guys. I know we're going off on a tangent. I wonder how Video Games Live is going to play out now. He's already just trying to go back to that and pretending none of this happened.
Yeah, he's not doing it on his main social channels, was he? But like, obviously, even though he didn't do it on his main social, it was found instantly and just like blasted.
Of course. I mean, I can't follow him because he's blocked me, and I don't give a shit enough to like go to his secondary account to look what he's up to. But yeah. Oh yeah, you're blocked. Okay, I'm actually not. I looked to see if anything had changed, and he's still. Oh, don't worry, he will eventually. I promise you.
I'm sure. Yeah. Ooh.
just like DK Oldies has blocked me. Just like
I'm loving your DK Oldies videos. That is prime time. That is.
We're going to show a comparison. I got to figure out which console. I asked my audience. We're going to get something from Lukey Games and see how. Yeah, I'm surprised that Slopes is not blocked by Tommy yet. He must. I'm sure that'll change probably within the next at best 5 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's finish because I want to get to the part with you where the kid, because that was amazing to me. We watched that before.
Yeah, I'll explain how I had to really be careful with wording that, because I'm not insinuating he's being like in any kind of sexual way or anything. I'm definitely not I'm saying
no.
This is the length he's going to. But I had to make you know how the internet can take things that you say and like just go far with it. Yeah,
I just said people call me a pedophile like on a daily basis. So welcome to with nothing. They're literally because I've watched a YouTuber. That's what they went on, and people call me that. So yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I get what he was like. Why are you talking to a 14-year-old? Like he was like trying to be pals with him, and it's like, dude, why are you talking to? You can tell he has no kids of his own. Why are you talking to a 14-year-old about like sexualized things? Like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And actually, that Lucas, I guess, the channel, he actually commented on the video, going, "Wow, I'm part of Amico history, thanks," or something to that effect.
Because it just shows how ridiculous. We'll get into it, but it just shows how ridiculous he is. Like, what are you?
What's ridiculous is he's 19 now. Well, he really? That'll be my. It was 5 years ago, so.
Oh, that was in 2018. So yeah, he's 19.
We worked it out in the Discord that he's 18 or 19. Yeah, he's an adult now. He can have that conversation now.
God, I can't believe how long this shit has went on, and there's no console. That's the best part. There's no console. All right, so let's start this, and then we
Yeah,
can get
carry
to
on,
the
man, yeah.
COVID, so let's take more money. That has nothing to
that's
do
loud.
with it. That was an ignorant comment. You know, give me a break. Oh, I'm triggered. I'm triggered.
You absolutely are.
Some of your folks, like, I'm not triggered. Some of your folks are douchebags. It's like just instant. Going back on what he just said. Instant.
Yeah, like we were saying before, like, could you picture Mark Cerny or Phil Spencer from Sony or Microsoft doing this? Could you, like, that's the, like, it's unbelievable. He's incredible. Let's keep going.
Some of your folks are douchebags. So DM.
Thank you for calling some of my audience douchebags, Tommy. I appreciate that. Thinking back now. Thank you, Tommy.
In your chat, DM says, Pat and Ian are weird, but they are right about the Amico. Well, tell me what they're right about.
They are. They were right about everything. I hate them, Tommy. I can't stand them. Which I don't.
He says now, I'll wait. And there you go. Here's your answer.
Yeah, here's your answer. You know, though, like the story why they really can't stand me, right? Do you understand? Did you know that part of it?
Fill me in case I have it wrong.
Back in the day of, remember when they first started talking about Diablo Immortal?
Mm-hmm.
My editor.
Yes, I totally know. Yeah, I do know. Sorry, you can carry on. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the video. It's as softball comes. I was just like, look, I think your take is bad. My editor did that edgy intro, which was like PG at best. Ever since then, hated me. Would stop following me, call me a snake. And so when like the whole thing with Tommy Tallarico happened, and I was completely out of my mind and tone deaf and wore an Intellivision hoodie while I interviewed him, they jumped like on that like flies on shit, because I was like, yes, we can finally get him now. Yeah. That's where that really all started from with them.
For those interested, I have I originally asked Pat to be a part of this video, to be a voice in the video, because I just wanted everyone from every side. The way I see it is, why are we fighting each other when really the enemy is in television, the new in television,
and over fucking and over video games too, if you really come down to it. But
yeah, it's bonkers. Obviously he politely declined. He was actually very, very nice about it all, and we spoke and stuff like that, but there is one part of the video that I know he's not too happy about. Pat, I've tried to talk to Ian about it. I've not actually had a chance to speak to Ian. I've never spoken to Ian. I think you've gone past it when I talk about when...
Yeah, I'm interested to know what is it?
The Mikel Casanova bit, when Ian called out Mikel for being a shill before an interview had even taken place.
Yeah, what was weird with that, and I just mentioned that made me raise an eyebrow, whether Pat dislikes it or not. Like, boo-hoo, he's accidentally put out misinformation. So have I. Like, it happens. Like, get over it, Pat.
Yeah,
but the thing with
I apologize at the way that it was done, but my intention was to show the growing distance between the sides, because I do believe Mikel. I don't necessarily believe whether it was Ian that sent it to him. It might have been there's 1,000 trolls in the world of Amico and fake accounts. So I believe that Mikel got that information. Whether it came from Ian directly or not is another matter. But my intention was to show the growing feud between the haters and the cultists. I'm labeling them there. Obviously, there's only a few really hardcore haters and hardcore cultists, but you were getting pushed either side. That was my intention.
Yeah, it's very polarizing. My only thing with Mikel is like, and it's not that you're keeping track. It's not that you're being weird. Like, I have emails from DSP Gaming from like 3 years ago, and it's not that I keep them as a keepsake. I just keep all of my shit because it's free storage. Who gives a shit? It's always strange to me, especially when someone comes forward to you with something that would be damning on them. Why would you get rid of it? It's not taking up any space on yours. So I always scratch my head when people do that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so, but you could very well be telling the truth, and maybe he accidentally deleted it. I don't know. But I'm always like, I raise an eyebrow and like, oh yeah, I deleted the conversation that could totally redeem me and make the other person look terrible. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows? He wants me to go on his podcast as well. Maybe that will happen one day. And then there's plenty of different accounts that you can go and look at to see if that exists. But I don't think it matters to the story. For me, like I say, it was really just to show the growing feud. And anyway,
And it does. It still proves it. Your point was still made and was correct that it's very divisive.
Yeah, you know? and I know you're not the fan of them, but I actually talk positively at the way that they treated the Amico throughout this entire video, and that was one very small, tiny section of it. So of the entire video. So I mean, hopefully they don't focus too hard on.
Oh, I've agreed with Pat and Ian on plenty of it too. Like that's like I always try my damnedest, even if I can't stand somebody. Like, you know what? I know they don't like me, but they have a valid point here. You know, because that is the way you keep your integrity. Like, even if someone I've despised many other people on this platform, but if they say something that makes sense, like Quantum TV's even made sense recently. I don't know if you know who he is. I hope you don't. I don't. Well, good. Keep it that way. I'm like, yeah, you're a psychopath, but you know that actually kind of made sense. Some take he had in a movie recently or something. But a lot of these guys can't do that, though. It's like, oh, I dislike you, so I have to, even if it's like if they can hear a rumor about you and they'll put it out there without doing any fact checking just because they dislike you. So.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you one little factoid, actually. I talked about this earlier on the podcast, but did you know, sound a bit like did you know gaming there, but did you know that before Tommy ended up taking over after the death of Keith Robinson, which is obviously well earlier on in this video, the company Pico Interactive, you may know them, they make like the new Mega Drive games and stuff like that. Oh yeah. They reached out to Intellivision to try and become and I've asked if I can talk about this, and they've said yes, and they've shown me the email thread, so I know this is fact. But they reached out to become to basically take over some or all of the IPs, or at least some of the IPs. They had a figure in mind that they were going to be offering Intellivision for these IPs, which was going to go up to 50k, but Intellivision said no because because they were 500k in debt.
Oh shit.
So even though technically what Tommy is part of Intellivision Entertainment, which is a bit of a side shoot of the original Intellivision, it's still quite eye-opening to think that before Tommy even got involved, the company was $500,000 in the hole, and obviously a hell of a lot worse now.
and the thing is that it's like it's just Intellivision by name. I mean, Tommy's totally shelled it out now and dragged it through the mud. But what I never understood about Intellivision too, when Tommy was pushing this and talking about going on Ellen and all this, like, it was such a blip in the radar of gaming history. What did you expect it to become? Like, he was so delusional.
I think the only way he kind of convinced me was that he wasn't even going to be targeting us, as in retro gamers or gamers in general. It was going to be going for like this sort of like sort of a religious. It was going to be showing up in religious shops and stuff like that. And then there's a whole world of people we don't even know about that might be, do I want to say, tricked into buying something like this? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going to be able to get a console that's 100%. There's no nudity or no graphic stuff on it whatsoever. Everything's family friendly and stuff like that. And maybe they can get an angle there. And I think that was something that Rerez talked about when he interviewed him as well, or at least come to that assumption even. But for me, that just makes it more obscure and more appealing if it ended up going down that route.
I could see how but my thing is, like, how many Ned Flanders are out there that are going to be, I know, like, you know, and his thing was like,
look, great analogy.
Yeah, how many billions of people are out there playing free-to-play games on their phones? Like, because Tommy, the phone is always there in their pocket, and they could go to an app store in 3 seconds and download something free. You can't compare that to a console that you go in front of it, you go home, you're sitting in front of your television, you're buying a game or whatever the fuck you're doing. It's not the same market. The people who were, I know I'm going on a soapbox right now, but because it pisses me off, the people who were playing a free-to-play game on their phone are never going to go near your console because they're not even really a gamer. They just play something while they're waiting at the doctor's office because it was free on their phone.
Yeah, 100%.
And he tried to, like, lump that in, like, look at the potential customers we have. It's like, dude, come on. Really?
Yeah, that's the reason why the Wii U sold well and didn't continue to do well software sales, is because people bought it because it was a cool little gimmick, realized that they could do all this stuff on their phone eventually. And why would you then go back to buying games when you've got this stuff on your phone? I'm
you mean
always
you
trying.
mean the Wii, right? You mean the Wii?
Sorry, yeah, the
said.
Wii.
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay. Yeah, it was the most successful dust collector of all time. I still see Wiis in the States at people's houses who don't game, who still have a Wii on the side of their televisions, and it's just like the dust is like 6 Mile high on it. You know, not that there wasn't good games for the Castlevania: The Adventure Rebirth is fantastic.
Yeah.
But
So it's actually an incredible console. You just got to really dig through that crap.
but there was so much shovelware on it, man.
Yeah,
and
big time.
And the point we're trying to make, guys, is that we've moved on from that era, and Tommy was still thinking that like there's something there when the rest of the industry is like, nah, we're good. You know?
Yeah.
So let's get back to him. Like,
Sorry,
crying about
it's going to take forever, but yeah, go for it.
It's all good.
Because they don't even know what it is and they've never played it. So DM, I'll wait for your response. Type away, my friend. Face it, Rich. You know damn well, both me and you, if we had the opportunity to get a lap dance from the Little Mermaid.
Here we go. Let me ask you a question. This was the question I was going to ask you.
Go
You had to suffer through probably 8 billion hours worth of interviews. How many people there, while Tommy was preaching, were stone-faced for like an hour and a half?
It's nuts, man. It's so crazy. And the thing is, I come from sales and marketing before I became a YouTuber, so I know the tactics he's going on. So for people out there that don't know, like I used to work in the sales department, and the sales manager, or the line manager, I suppose, he would have these Excel files, and it would have all of his customers' names and stuff like that on there. And what he would do is, like, you know, Mr. Smith, it would have like all these columns. So he'd have all the names of all his customers down the left-hand side in an Excel spreadsheet, and then along the top it would be like daughter, name, birth date, favorite food, favorite TV show, all these weird things about the customer, like absurdly creepy, weird stuff. And he would talk to them, and they would send him Christmas cards as if like they're his best friend, because he's sold to them that well and knows them that perfectly. And I remember looking, I'm like, this is disgusting.
It's psyops.
Yeah, and
he made a bunch of friends with people. I'm sorry, my apologies to cut you off.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
He made a bunch of friends with people to basically, essentially, mind fuck them into being free advertising for him.
Yeah, and then I would listen to him, and he would do that same spiel over and over again. And when I was listening to, I'm not even joking, at least 100 interviews for this video. Obviously, I would have them on double speed. But they would be like an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours long, and it would be the exact same spill. He would start almost every single one doing that weird thing where he's at the camera going, "Ooh," and he'd be doing that, "Is your parents still alive?" and all these different sales techniques he would go down. So, for instance, is your parents still alive? It doesn't matter what answer you give. The answer he would come back to once you've said, you know, yes or no, they are still alive or they're not. How about I can rekindle that vibe you used to have when you used to play games with your parents. All of a sudden, the person that's answering that question is getting goosebumps. Oh my god, yes, I love you, Tommy Tallarico. And it's sales. This isn't something he's just come up with on the fly. This is something he'd done over and over and over again. And so I listened through an absurd amount of interviews, and it got to the point when I was just losing my mind. So I'd put them on like 2 speed, and sometimes I would download them and try and put them on 3 speed, playing through VLC or something. And it got to the point where I would just go to like different rooms of the house whilst they were playing and just blitz the room to try and keep myself occupied whilst listening, because it was so mind-numbing.
And it's true about sales too. Like, I did sales for a long time, and you got the first thing people are sold on is you. Like, because if they don't feel like they connect with you, this is what Tommy was doing, they won't buy your shit. I used to do furniture sales. They could love the furniture. If they think you're a dick, they're not going to buy it. So what Tommy was doing is he basically built a cult because he was pulling at people's emotional strings.
Yeah.
Like, how
if you don't hear any interviews and he just says all of this same spiel that works perfectly for him to you, and you don't hear it anywhere else, you realize, oh, wow, this is actually really cool. This is a really nice guy. But when you start hearing it 1,000 times, hang on.
Snake oil salesman.
Yeah. It's but I had to go through them all, because every single one of those 100-odd interviews, and I guarantee you there's loads that I wasn't able to see, he would give one exclusive. Here's an exclusive for you. And it doesn't matter if it's real or not.
That's how you got all of them? That's how you got.
Well,
that
not
list.
all of them, but that's how I got the vast majority. I'll send you a link to my research file. It's just all of these interviews where it's like, at this point he said this point he said this point he said this. So that eventually, when I get round to doing the script, if I want to find all the bits where he says, "I'm going to kick Atari's ass," which he said about 20 times, I could Control F Atari, and there you go. I can nick all of those clips there, and put them
and
together.
The irony is that even when he was on my interviews with him, he talks so much shit about Atari. And the irony is, Daniel, eventually one of these years I'm doing a video on it. I have an Atari VCS right here.
Yeah, I've got
and you
one
can
here
buy
as well,
one at
yeah.
a Best Buy. Can I go Can I go to Amico and buy a Best Buy? Could I go to Best Buy and buy an Amico if I could talk today? Nope.
Yeah.
And what I heard too, and then we'll get back into the video, is that a lot of times the demo units, they had like an orange Pi in there, or like it was like a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
I don't know if that's been proven or not, but anyway, let's get back to him crying.
We'd be all over. True or false?
Good point.
Anyway,
Jason Enos, who
Yeah, did you know that Pat and Ian were like, "Oh, Rich wants to get a lap dance from a 16-year-old," because of I didn't know fucking anything about the Little Mermaid. I didn't even probably remember him asking the goddamn question because he just dribbled from his mouth.
he's trying to connect with you. You're a vulgar man sometimes, Rich, and this is his way of connecting with you.
Yeah, and he also tried to connect the same way with a 14-year-old. Let's continue.
worked at Konami for 12 years. You think he knows some people over at Konami that could help us with getting the Castlevania?
Add that to the list. Slopes, Castlevania, any game you mentioned to him, it's coming out. It's it's coming.
Speaking of Castlevania, can you maybe light a fire under Konami's rump? And
Look at the
maybe
way
have
he
them
answers
some
this.
contra
Yep, here we go. You're gonna say, here we go, drum roll.
games on your system?
Well, we're talking to him.
That would
I
that
agree.
would be badass if you brought it. And you could.
You could see by how he looked down like he was lying. Like, I'm not a speech pathologist, or he's like, we're yeah, sure. I could talk to him. I talked to him yesterday. No, you didn't.
And then he gives you he carry it on, and then he carries on and said, yeah, what about a 4-player contract?
Make that
As if that's being happened. As if that's
Dude,
happening.
How about 4-player Contra? How about that?
Oh, that would be amazing.
On those controllers that don't even have buttons and a disc. Let that sink in.
Is this the real Tommy that we are finally getting to see here?
I've never given a shit what other people think about me.
Okay.
The irony
let's
of him
continue.
saying that.
Tommy confirms that 12,300 consoles have been pre-ordered so far. We discover that one of the main reasons the system is getting released on that specific day is that was one of the more harsh interviews, Top Loaded Gaming. He went in a bit more, not harsh as such, but he went in with a lot more hardcore questions. If anyone wants to go look up that one, that was him and Tony TGD and you, when he called you in on that one time after Finnegan Fox, were probably some of the hardcore ones.
Oh, because when I saw that footage,
I know.
I was like, you have to be fucking kidding me. You have placeholder font. This game looks like something I could play on, like, what are the Leapfrog consoles? Which, okay, the child thing, I get it, but it looks like uncompleted crap.
It's a 7 out of 10, definitely, isn't it?
Yeah, no, dude, it's a 10 out of 10. Are you kidding? And I'm like, where did you come from? And he's like, I'm calling in. I'm like, all right, call in. And I was like, Tommy, how could you justify this? How could you? Well, it's better than showing nothing. No, the fuck, it's not.
Wow, yeah. Every game we release is going to be on the level of a Cuphead, as he said to Re-Res.
And that's what he showed. He showed Finnegan Fox, but everything's going to be on the level of Cuphead. That tank battle game running at 15 frames a second, is that on the level of Cuphead?
I've actually got a press kit of Fox and Forest here.
That's on Steam, right? That's where that game came from, and they reskinned it.
I've got it on the Switch, but yeah.
And that's the best thing is exclusives. But all you had to do is add like a multiplayer mode or something stupid, and that made it exclusive for the Amico. But
yeah.
Here we go, let's continue.
It's to honor the birth date of his sadly deceased sister. We also discover that the system must be online to play physical games. Also, this is a pretty important date, as it's when the system is finally taking pre-orders in Germany. As we move into May, the recently appointed Kara Aka sadly leaves the company. Tommy proposes
Shocker!
a 7th packing game, and then we get another game to add to our list, Decathlon.
I love that pine pot from Streets of Rage, by the way.
That was a right pain to get, that was. But yeah, it was something I always wanted to get. I always wanted to get that. And then someone copied me. I'm like, it's fine, I suppose. But it's not as unique as it was.
Dude, there was this guy who had... This is what happens. I always go off on tangents. There was this guy who had a Castlevania cube where you could play the Castlevania game, and as you played the original Castlevania for NES, and as you played it, the cube would move around to scroll through the level. But the guy wanted like $5,000 for it. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, that
Christ.
was custom made. That one. It cost me about 500-ish.
That's
But
actually.
I think it's a. Yeah, I got it custom made from some company that imported it. Most of it was import charge.
But that's actually. I actually think for the quality of that, that's actually a pretty good deal. Like,
There's a button you can turn it on party mode, and it all does like little flashes and stuff.
oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it wasn't $5,000.
I dropped the remote in a well, it got some condensation on the remote, and it wouldn't come off party mode for a really long time. It was like constant party mode with the Pine Pot logo for a while.
Why? Oh, because there was like the remote to turn
Condensation
it on,
on the
oh,
remote. But
shit!
yeah, it's fine. I like dried it out of the whole rice trick, and it sorted it. But yeah.
For everyone asking what Pine Pot is, go play the original Streets of Rage. There's either on a Sega Genesis or one of the 8 billion Genesis compilations that are out there.
Yeah. Or just go to Google Images and type in Pine Pot Streets of Rage. You'll see it. It's one of the buildings in the background.
Just play Streets of Rage. It's great.
It's a bloody good game.
Streets of Rage 2 is one of like my favorite, up in like the top 10, I would say, of my games of all time.
Yeah, it's so good.
And Streets of Rage 3 is good, but it's hard. It's funny. The U.S. version is harder than the Japanese version, which that always boggled me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, it's a good game, but it's hard as shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep, a Decathlon game is already in the works.
Another
GameStop
game!
jump on board, offering a unique variant, the Galaxy Purple Edition. After getting
I still have my pre-order in, but
fake negative reviews for the system on...
just to be a dick. I'm like, you know what? It's symbolic. It sucks. I'm losing out $100. I know that like Phil Adam has probably spent it on making another letter once every 6 months.
Well,
but
the latest news on the Amico is the fact that so someone sent an email trying to buy the IPs, and Phil Adam, I don't know if he's telling the truth, but his response was that they are actually talking to people already, 3 big companies, about licensing some of the games. Now let's just play devil's advocate and say that he is telling the truth. My mind goes to somewhere like a Limited Run Games or someone like that, potentially releasing like I mean, what ones would be close? Shark and stuff like that, I suppose, as a little compilation potentially, and then the money that they would make from that, it seems like they would try and fulfill some of those orders, because I mean there's about 20 of these things that exist. 2 of them are already out in the wild. DJC has one, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Mike Mullis has one. And you obviously see these things at events like at Boomers and all these other events that he went to. So people have played them. Whether that, what's inside the console, that's another question, and that's another story. But there are some, and they could technically replicate those things and hand them out to people like me and you that have pre-orders down. So, and by licensing them out, then potentially that's what they're trying to do. I mean, it's just a theory at the moment, but hey.
I would be delighted to get one in my hands.
So would I.
And review it.
So would I.
And I would give it. If I walked to this fucking day, I'm going to say this. If I walked away, if I could talk today, and the thing was actually decent, I'd be like, it wasn't that bad, guys. Like, I'm not. I have no reason to hate on this thing, even though Tommy thinks so, just to hate on it.
I've already got it in my mind how I would review this thing. I would do my own personal thing, but I would also go to people that have no idea what an Amico is, like my aunts, my nan. What do you think of this? because that was his target market. His target market was everyone and non-gamers. So let's see what the non-gamers actually think of this thing.
I'm dead ass if I get my hands on it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So I think I hate about doing like the Skype-ish thing. I would literally probably like rent out a booth in like a public space and be like, "Yo, come try this." I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Because I want no one to say I'm biased. And I'm like, "What do you think?" And if people were like, "It's good," I'm like, "All right, hey, you know."
Yeah.
And if people were like, "It's shit," you know, then it's shit.
Yeah, it works for the review regardless. Yeah, you 100% honest. Yeah.
RTU Amico meetup. Yeah, they tried a few times. You know, it's funny. I used to go after Pat and Ian for like, because Tommy was like, "You're so close to me. Take a couple-hour drive out." And it's like, I used to call them out for that, but I get it. It's like, dude, I don't have an hour to. I don't have like if you're 30 minutes away, man, it's tough for me to get to you with all the shit I got going on. You know, but yeah,
you stream a lot, so it take you out of your stream time.
I stream a fuck ton. I do more streaming now than YouTube videos. I just do higher production value videos.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
There's news. Yeah. Because this video, dude, I'm telling you, like, I would say 300 to 500,000 views in this year. Yeah. Might take a year, but you'll get it. Man. Oh, dude, come on. And it's going to get
I was just trying to
worse.
look for my phone. I think my wife nicked it. I think it's near 100K.
I'm telling you, because it's already at 100K, so my numbers are probably conservative. Especially because there's going to be more drama about this, so you know what's going to happen. People are going to look for more shit on Amico, and they're going to find your video and H Bomber guy's video, probably in the reverse order, but still. So we got to get to the interview where the kid.
Yeah, with the 14-year-old.
GameStop's pre-order page, Tommy gets his minions on the case.
Check
Xbox
out the
Series S money for
trying
this
to
thing.
convince consumers not to buy Amico. This is how unhinged these folks have
They
become.
want $350 for it now, by the way.
Do me a favor. Leave a comment about what you all think of Amico. Thanks.
This results in ludicrous fake reviews being left from both sides, like, for instance, the game's being full of microtransactions, 1 out of 5 stars, and that the UI and menu are worry-free.
Okay, I got a complaint to GameStop or any company that does this. Why do you let people leave reviews on products that are not
It's so
out
weird. We were just looking at the fact that there's things being talked about on Argos. Like, because you can, Argos is a UK shop, but they're still taking pre-orders. There's one down the road from me. And yeah, they're still taking pre-orders.
Trust me, this is not me defending the Amico, but like anything, whether it be a new Xbox game, how do you leave a review for a game that doesn't have reviews out for it yet? Maybe if I could see the reviews out for it. But, you know, you could have an opinion on it, but you can't leave a review for something like you played it when you on a website where you supposedly bought it already. It's just weird.
What I find quite funny is on Argos, you know, when like on Amazon and stuff, it says like frequently bought together stuff. On Argos, what's frequently bought together is the Intellivision Amico console pre-order and GTA, the trilogy, the definitive edition on Switch. It's like, what? Who's buying these things together?
No, dude, it's just, I just think it's algorithm fodder. I wonder if they're actually getting pre-orders for it. Have you looked into that?
Not from Argos, but I mean, there's people that are answering the questions. I don't know. My pre-order was through what was it, Fig?
My pre-order was right through. I think it was in 2020, I think. And I'm like, you know, everyone's like, "Are you gonna refund your?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna keep it. Fuck it."
That was one of the embarrassing things of the video that I knew I would have to face from day dot. It was I'm going to do a video, and I thought it'd only be an hour and a half by this point. So I get about 3.5 hours into the video, and then I say, and then I put a pre-order down. It's the ultimate egg on the face.
Yeah, but at least you're being honest, man. You're not like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm being totally different now because it's gonna fail." Like, you're owning up to like everything that happened, so that gives the video more credibility, if anything.
I just find it quite funny at that point. You know, so you know that system we've just been bashing for the last 3 hours. It was at this point I decided I would put a pre-order down.
Then I would put a pre-order in because then you could have a train wreck in your home, though. I get it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh man, I would pay some serious money for an Amico. I would love to have an Amico.
It was the reason I still bought the Ouya even after it came out, because I just wanted to see how much of a train. It was just as much of a train wreck as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I got one of those.
Sparkle was the most complete experience, 5 out of 5. GameStop would eventually remove the ability to leave reviews for the system, something that they have apparently never needed to do before. Anyway, don't let all that get you down, because apparently Tommy is also working on a crocking game for the Amico. After a forum user suggested that he should try it out, which he did, here is his board in the Aztec zone. Eagle-eyed and nosed investigators found several patents for Intellivision that include such gems as parental controls, even though this would surely never be needed. And best of all, and
Yeah, that makes no sense. Good point.
Yeah.
If you are having a system that's all children's games, why do you even need to have parental controls? So you're telling me that there is M-rated games coming to it, or teen-rated games. He makes no sense, dude.
no, I'm
Yeah,
not making
it's
this
really,
up.
really weird.
Smell-o-vision. Oh,
Yeah,
how I
Smell-o-vision's coming. Smell-o-vision.
No,
apparently.
that was a real thing.
Apparently, yeah, it's in the patents. You can go and find that out. Yeah, that was me. That was my screenshot going through their patents, finding that section by doing Control F Smell-o-vision or smell or something like that, and then pasting that on the screen, because that was something that they were playing around with the idea with.
Tommy needs to fart in a jar, and I need to sniff it through my Amico. There we go.
wish we lived in a world where the Amico did exist and the Smell-o-vision patent was not rejected. But alas, this was not to be. Hey, it's time for some great news for the company once again, as Jay Allard has joined the team.
Oh, God.
For those that don't know, Jay Allard co-founded the Xbox project and was behind several major hardware releases for the company. Intellivision was so excited to have such an industry legend on board, and so they should have been. The only problem was, well, not all was what it seemed. But before that, first things first, we get yet another person joining the company in June. We get Tommy teasing again on Atari Age.
How many people did he need? Like, he just...
Well, he claimed he had over 300.
For what?
I don't know.
I remember you saying that number before, and I heard that number even before this. Like, what the fuck were they doing?
It's really bizarre. And you look through, I mean, the Salt Lake City office and then that other one in where is it, in California, the offices look incredible. I remember when I felt I truly made it on YouTube, when Sega invited me to their offices, and I went to their offices and I'm like, oh, it kind of just looks like an office. But Intellivision have a more impressive office.
That was Tommy's weird flex. Like,
Yeah.
everything, like, oh, we're opening up offices in Dubai and wherever the hell else you said.
China and yeah.
And it's like, dude, like, did Analog do any of this? Did Evercade do it? Like, they just released, like, why are you so worried about the image of it? But that's Tommy. As you
I think
learn,
it's a juice company now, the Californian one. Like the office space is dead, and I believe there's maybe a fruit or a juice company or something like that.
a juicing company already taken over. That's amazing.
I think it's a juice company or something like that.
It's like when they use the Atari Jaguar shells to
Yeah.
as a dentist's office for dental tools.
About a collaboration with Arcade 1-Up dropping in 2021.
What was that?
Nothing ever dropped in 2021.
What was what?
Arcade 1-Up, like what was that? We're doing something with Arcade 1-Up. End of conversation. Nothing ever discussed ever again, ever.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he does over and over and over and over. We got this, we got that, we got MLB, we got, you name a game, he's like, somehow, some way it's coming to the console. And nothing ever happens.
The perfect example is Kool-Aid. I don't know if we've done that bit yet, but the guy goes, my dad used to play the Kool-Aid game with me on the old Intellivision. How about we get the Kool-Aid game come back? And he's like, we've had meetings about it. We've had more than one meeting about it.
Always had a meeting.
Yeah. Let's say that he has had a couple of meetings to bring a Kool-Aid game to the Intellivision Amico. What an incredible waste of time. Like, that's what you're doing? Instead of releasing the console, having meetings of whether you should release a Kool-Aid game? I mean, obviously that never happened, but like, what? It's just so confusing.
He was too busy having meetings to get an exclusive version of Beat 'em and Eat 'em.
It's so bonkers.
It's so weird. Like, he can't, like, he has to lie about everything. It's like he can't help himself. Like, any game you named, it would be coming to the Amico.
Except for a Baby Yoda game. It's the only one I've ever found. He said, no, EA have got that.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess he's like, yeah, I'm not fucking with Disney and Star Wars. Like, he's not.
Well, no, he said Tron was coming. He was talking to Disney. He's got good friends.
Oh yeah.
Very good friends.
Oh, here I was thinking that like Disney lawyers would be knocking at his door before the interview with someone with 5 subscribers was even up. The KFC console will come out before the Amiga. That was a great troll by KFC because for a while, I actually thought that was true. They even went into what GPU they were going to be using and the Intel process they were going to be using, and they were saying you could warm your chicken while you were playing games.
They're really good marketers.
I was like, yeah, man, I'll get that thing, and it never came out. They trolled the fuck out of me. And fiber internet's going to be amazing. Beagle Boy Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, and yet again, he jumps on another podcast with an extremely small YouTuber after that YouTuber slightly criticized the console.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I was looking on GameStop's website trying to buy some games, and I looked, and there's this new product coming out from Mattel called the Intellivision Amico. I looked at it, and it looks kind of like an iPod. I'm very confused. So I want to take you on.
And this kid is right about everything, too.
The Intellivision Amico ride, if you will.
If you're thinking to yourself, God, he's a bit young, then you would be right.
This is like the most the most cringe part of this whole thing.
My palm is literally on my forehead. Like
my palm was on mine. It's so. This means, like you said in the video multiple times, that Tommy literally sits there like on his phone looking up Amico and his name, probably
I've
like
heard
10 times a day.
reports that he had people at the company looking. I don't know how true that is. So it was either that or he had himself do it. Regardless, it was the same outcome. But yeah,
it's just the worst look for a company ever. And then he goes like, what did this kid have? Like maybe 1,500 subs? Not even
nothing.
and
you're going on there and anyway, let's hear, watch.
But that didn't matter, as exactly 7 days later, Tommy jumped on the 14-year-old channel to try and convince him that the Amico is awesome.
Welcome to Lucas. Today on the show we have a big special guest. His name is Tommy Tallarico.
There's two ways to look at this. On one hand, this is amazing. Tommy has time for everyone, not just the big channels, but even the small channels too. Here we have a 14-year-old YouTuber talking to a video game legend, and to Tommy's credit, he praises the young lad's research and says some really nice uplifting things.
Basically.
You know, my God, man, I'm very impressed. I tell you, I wish I knew as much about video games when I was your age. You're gonna be, I'm not just saying this, but I think you're gonna.
But the
it's
KFC
painful
console
to watch. Sorry.
confirmed trolling. No, it's okay. It is very painful. It's I'm embarrassed for him, or just something that tried to make, couldn't, and just dropped it. I'm gonna look into that, dude. That might be actually a good video. What the fuck happened to the KFC console? Because they even went into specs. It did seem real. Tickled Bruno. Anyway, let's get back to Tommy being creepy, but not in the way that is terrible.
Yeah.
He's just being a tone deaf idiot.
Going to be a big person in the video game industry someday.
You could look at this as a kind of cool uncle thing, you know? A lot of the conversation is
Look how
talking about
humble
how
that
we
kid's
got
face
into
is.
retro
He knows
gaming.
really,
It's quite
like,
humbling, but it can
it's not
also
grooming,
come across.
But the kid, even like everyone else, is like, oh God, shut up. You could see it in his face. He's like, dude, you're not letting me get a word in edgewise.
It's a little bit like a creepy uncle thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's talking about how back in his day the company didn't have to worry about video game censorship on the Atari and what have you. That is until...
Now, there were a couple of, like, off the charts, like, weird porno, like, you know, like...
What are you talking?
It's so good for him that he had a brain fart here and forgot the name Custer's Revenge. It's so good that he got it confused with General whatever he says, the character from Cluedo.
It's better than bringing up Beat 'em and Eat 'em.
Oh,
this would have been a bad time for that, dude. I can't, like, I get it, like, he didn't do anything malicious here, and I don't want to, but it's still why are you talking, like, if he was like my age, fine, but why are you talking to a kid about this stuff? I get he's 14 and whatever, but that's not your place to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
I think you say the exact same thing. I'm just like repeating it right now. You're about to say it now.
What was it? The Colonel Mustard? No, that's Clue.
For those that don't know, he's talking about Custer's Revenge, the game where you play as General Custer, dodging arrows on the way to rape the Indian maiden on the other side of the screen to a 14-year-old little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Now look, I'm not stupid. The boy's 14 years old. He's obviously seen worse than pixelated bonuses and whistling. Heck, he even says he watches the Angry Video Game Nerd too, but that's not the point.
It's not Tommy's place to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Tommy is so obsessed with getting people to like his upcoming system and to crush any and all criticism that he went onto the YouTube channel of a 14-year-old boy with virtually no audience, took over an hour out of his day to do so when he really should have been focusing on getting this thing released, and at times obviously forgot that he was talking to someone this young.
A child.
Yeah.
Look, even though I'm sure the intentions were good here, this is so sad and quite eye-opening, as was his next interview.
All right. We'll pause it here. What we're going to do is I'm going to take a break. Shout out your channel tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, my time. Unfortunately for you, it's going to be way later. But
no, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's now essentially. Yeah.
I'm going to have Slopes on Twitch with Jay, and we're going to be talking about all Amico, all Tommy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Slopes' channel is in the description. Check it out. He makes great videos.
Oh,
he has other documentaries like that. Thank you. And this is just a little taste. So yeah, come on tomorrow night to Twitch, and it's going to be even more interesting. So thank you, Slopes, for coming on.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Tomorrow night should be a lot of fun, and I look forward to talking to you then.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to continue watching this? Because I'm going to quickly tell you something about this.
What I'm going to do is actually take a break. I got to make a couple phone calls. I'm going to watch the Tony MLD interview where it gets heated.
Right,
and we're going to come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll chat about it tomorrow then. That's cool.
Yeah, we'll watch it tomorrow and do that there tomorrow.
Yeah, cheers for streaming. It's actually really exciting. I wake up in the morning, wicked. There's Watch Review Tech USA watching my video. It's quite cool. But yeah, it'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. It should be good.
Absolutely. And again, guys, I have him linked in. I have this video linked in the description. And go sub to Slopes. He's awesome. And thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much, bud. And I'll chat to you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Later.
Woo! Right up my ass, baby. I love it.
You know. So you're I don't know if I can. People can't hear what I'm saying, can they? Oh, can they hear us? Oh, okay, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. Right, I'm gonna.
They know Hot Men Live. They know there's Hot Men Live. That's all they need to know. We don't need to have the music from Rival Turf. Took me a minute.
Yeah, they can hear us. Just to confirm, they can hear us.
They can hear us, so I can't talk about my porn collection that I have on my thumb drive like the CEO of the Borderlands series. I forgot the guy's name. Randy Pitchford.
I'll pitch a tent for you.
Let's just go into it, man. Why are we even waiting? Usually I wait for a certain amount of people.
Cucumbers.
We got Slopes Game Room here. What's going on?
Peeps.
With this masterpiece of a video talking about the Intellivision Amico.
Damn.
So Mihaldo, thank you very much. Yeah, you're almost at 100,000 views of that video already, right?
I think it may have just happened. Should we have a look? I think it may have literally just happened.
Because it's like it's blowing up now. You know what I bet? I bet you're getting a lot of traffic from the H Bomber Guy video.
I reckon if you did a Control F, put the word H Bomber Guy in my comments, hundreds. 100,000 and 175.
That is awesome, man.
Just happened.
Congratulations.
It's a great video.
Thank you very much.
And that is so good for your channel, too, with how long that video is. Because most people are watching through the whole thing.
Well, the retention is an hour. And I know it's a 4-hour video,
Holy
so it's
shit.
only 25%, but the retention
But that's
is an
still
hour.
amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like, because I'm having so many people say, I've had to do it over a few days, but they've actually keep coming back. the fact that the average is an hour. I mean, it's gone down a little bit now. I think it's like 52 minutes, but yeah.
But that's still amazing, though.
Dude, that's what I did. I watched like 2 hours, and I'm like, I need to take this all in. Next day before bed, I'm like, okay, time to finish this. It was perfect for that.
Well, I mean, I've only ever watched it once on normal speed. I've watched it about 7 times, or not even 7, maybe 20 times on double speed. But, you know.
Yeah, with my longer form videos like reviews, I'll watch them a billion times to see what I like, what I don't like, what I could have done better. The news stories I just trust Jay with, but the bigger videos, like I can relate. Like I want to, see how they went.
Yeah. It's like we do like a 30-minute video, and he's like, "Can you change the color of my beard for 4 seconds?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that."
Oh yeah, I always have a bunch of notes.
But they're not. I mean, I was gonna actually bring that up because you obviously edited that episode. I'm like, did you render it out the first time and notice a mistake and go, "For fuck's sakes"? And
oh yeah. I mean, it was done in 10 parts. So everything you see in the screen, I rendered that whole thing in 10 parts. Yeah. And then I put all of those files back in as one long file. And then obviously when it gets to about 20 minutes and I start to come away from the screen and you start to see that there's a big telly in the middle and I go in and out and blah, blah, blah. That was the final render, that part. So, yeah, it was essentially 11 renders to get it to the point of where it needed to be.
I got to say, that, like, in terms of an investigative sort of journalistic type of video, it's like in the top 5 of all time that I've seen.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. No, it's really well done.
Yeah,
you did the pacing. Dude, you nailed the pacing. You nailed exactly when to switch it up from slow pace to a bit more serious to joking to not joking and taking certain topics seriously, and also the way that you sort of show respect to him still. Even though a lot of people would say that he doesn't deserve respect from.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think those are the people you always get that hater term thrown around and the shill term thrown around.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I get labelled as a shill, and I know you did at one point, Rich, as well. But
yeah, we'll talk about because Pat and Ian had a hate boner, and they were just waiting to pounce for like 3 years.
But it's very easy to see who the hardcore haters are and the hardcore shills. It's a very, very different, polarizing group of.
Yeah, you got all these egos flying around too.
And I wasn't any of them. I was cautiously optimistic in the beginning, but then I started to, I never was starstruck by Tommy. That was the thing with me. Okay, dude, you had a show back in the early 2000s and the 90s, and you used to have a mullet. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But I always, when I first heard of the Amico, because I'm always so pessimistic about stuff, because, I wonder why. But I'm always so pessimistic about stuff. Let me go into this and just be neutral and balanced and just be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
And God, and you've seen all the interviews with Tommy. I think we were talking about this. No, we were talking about this in the live stream.
Yeah, it was. I lost my mind.
I'll let you talk about it, but how many interviews were people just sitting there zoning out while Tommy was talking for 90% of it?
I went back to the Lucas I Guess one today. That was the 14-year-old lad, and the comments are all like, you did a really good job of not talking in this interview. And they're all like the comments because he just didn't say anything, the young kid. It was just Tommy just talking and talking and talking and talking.
It's so pathetic. And like I think I said it to you too, it's done by design, I think, with him. Like he wants to just leech on to a platform, even if it's a smaller one, which is bizarre. It's also his ego.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, can I have an interview with you? Breasts too. And then he uses that to like advertise, and he kind of tricks you and like, oh yeah, we could have an interview, but then he just kind of takes over. It's like parasitic, I've noticed with him.
Slope, you should hear this story. So I'm Canadian, so that means that I grew up watching Tommy and Victor Lucas.
Yeah, see, I didn't really know much of any of that here in the UK.
Yeah, so,
I didn't really know about his show until the internet came along.
Which is, it's kind of crazy to talk about this topic quickly because in Canada, Tommy and Victor are considered to be the pioneers of video game journalism. So if you're a kid between 13, 14 back in the day, you come home from school, you're watching Tommy and Victor on TV all across Canada. And it's a massive deal. It's not just like, oh, it's a video game show. They're the biggest thing since MTV coming into Canada. It's that big in Canada, right?
Right.
So I grew up watching Tommy in that regard, but then I started my own YouTube show in Canada, and I got to become friends essentially with Victor, like pretty good friends. I know.
He seems like a genuinely quite decent dude. I've never spoken to him, but he semes all right.
He must feel so awkward about this situation.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
That's why I want to bring this up. I've been friends with Victor now 7 or 8 years. I've been in Vancouver, shot things with him, filmed, hung out with him, all that stuff. And I'll never speak on what he says about Tommy because he doesn't say anything about Tommy. The only thing that I noticed between those two once was that, it's like the moment you meet Tommy, he's a good, genuine person. But when you meet Victor is a good, genuine person. But when you meet,
I was gonna say, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, sorry. When you meet Tommy in person, he is just that persona from the TV. Like there's no two different people. And usually when you meet these people, there's two different people. There's the egomaniac version that's on screen. I think anybody that does YouTube has a bit of an ego, which is fine.
Absolutely.
But the story I was going to just tell you, because I think you appreciate this, is like, we were supposed to meet up with Victor at a huge video game event. So we met up with him, and I was like, can we shoot an interview? And this is when my channel was like decent size. I think maybe 15,000 subs. And he's like, yeah, for sure. So we did that with him. He's gracious. This is when we just started to get to know him. And we were supposed to have one with Tommy, and Tommy just went AWOL, just disappeared. Like he knew it was happening. He's just like, fuck those kids, basically.
Really?
So, yeah. Ever since that happened to me, I was a little bit sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I just ignored him. Like I just sort of stayed out of it. I thought at the beginning
it's painful to hear these stories. It really is, because I didn't have the connection you did, obviously growing up and watching him on the telly and stuff. But as I said to Rich the other night on the stream, like, I knew the name Tommy Tallarico and David Perry before I knew the name Shigeru Miyamoto. Like,
which is crazy. Yeah, you told me that the other day.
It's because I said, like, the school I went to, this Christian school that I went to, they only had like 72 kids in the school. It was like proper small, really, really niche. And my class, my year was the biggest year by quite a margin. I had 11 children in my year. The year above me had 2. And I remember that one of the kids above me I thought was really cool because he had Lemmings on his PC. And other kids in my class had Mega Drives or PCs or home computer consoles. And I didn't really know anyone underneath me. So I don't know if I remember seeing NESs at people's houses. And I do remember playing the original Mario Brothers. But I don't remember seeing a Super Nintendo until I left secondary school, and by that point, the PlayStation was out.
See, it's funny because the NES was like a fart in the wind in like UK. Like it wasn't a big deal there. Like, it was so opposite.
That is
it was so opposite here. A lot of like the microcomputers and stuff, like the ZX Spectrum, and that was big over there, right?
Oh yeah, all the home computer systems. Yeah. I had an Amstrad CPC 464. That I think my mum bought that when I was about 1, maybe 2, and I learned how to load up the tapes. And you'd get these what we would get back in the days, we would get these magazines, and they would have several pages of just text, and it didn't make any sense. It was all line break, blah blah blah, and you just type all of this stuff in, and as long as you got every character right, you get to see the flashy circle spin across the screen or whatever it may be, that was it.
You could type in basic code and actually have a game pop up. I remember I had it's like the only computer that Texas Instrument had. It was silver with a black.
The TX80, was it?
It was like TI-4A. I'm sure someone in the chat who's smarter than me will remember it. And yeah, I remember like you could hook up like a tape machine and get the games off of there. I had that for the Atari 2600 too, where you actually had the cartridge is like the size of a Buick. You'd plug it in and you'd put a tape to it, and that's how the game would load.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was saying, like, it was such a different market here, and I always used to. I mean, back when I didn't really know what type of YouTuber I wanted to be, and I used to watch like Angry Video Game Nerd, or maybe I'll be a character and I'll talk about really bad games, and I was like, he's talking about like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and all these games that look bad. If you want truly crap shovelware, go and get yourself a ZX Spectrum, or there are tens of thousands of games that are just hundreds of Donkey Kong rip-offs and stuff like that. I just feel like there's video content here,
They weren't licensing the software. People could just code for it and plop a disc in a store, right? Like
100%. Well, most of it was mail order in magazines.
Cucumbers.
Yeah, it was cucumbers as well.
So I think what we should do quickly here is, if you have any questions for Slopes Gaming, definitely ask in the chat. And I'm sure Slope has watched our show before and knows that.
Plenty times.
Knows that our audience is a bit insane. So some of these questions, I apologize. So here, let's do a couple of these.
You could do this Streamlabs.
Oh, and Lord Dragon, James Rolfe is still the gold standard of YouTubers. My God, yeah, absolutely. He was one of my biggest influences in the early days. Even though he's obviously more of a character. When he did his video on the Sword Quest series, that was just something I didn't know anything about. Like where you could win like the Chalice and stuff, like the Atari 2600 games.
That was crazy. I had those games that I had no idea that existed. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, one of the very, very few YouTubers I've never had the opportunity to speak to, but hopefully one day. Yeah,
I've met
him. I met him once as well.
I hung out with James a few times, and he's like his character, except extremely quiet sometimes, unless he's drinking. Then he isn't. But you
never know when you meet someone if they're going to be the same as what they are online. I remember the first day I met Ashins, and like I've spoken to Ashins 1,000 times now. I mean, I've got him on WhatsApp.
He's awesome. Awesome guy.
He was messaging me about my video only yesterday, and when I first met him, he was like, "Hello," and I'm like, "He is exactly Ashins."
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's I think what makes people last longer on YouTube. If you are yourself, I think it makes you like, if you're like doing a gimmick, or I mean, the Angry Video Games Nerd is a character, but he diversified out from the character. But if you're a gimmick, I think your shelf life is going to be like milk in the sun, and usually I've seen it a billion times. So
yeah,
absolutely.
So let's just go over some of this so we don't miss it. Thank you for the resub for 3 months. 3 months to sub to Daddy. Thank you, appreciate that. MH. Alex says, "How do you feel about the boss leaving YouTube, Rich?"
I have a neither a not negative or positive feeling towards it, because here's the thing. A website like YouTube, or platform I should say, it's not 2005 anymore. It's uncharted waters that we're in on the internet. I don't know if it's considered Web 3.0 or Web 2.0, whatever the hell it's called. We haven't had a user-generated platform at the forefront like YouTube is. Everyone, complained about Susan Wojcicki, and everyone, like, what would you have done? You know what I mean? When you have advertisers that and they walk on eggshells with everything, would you have done anything different? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm not saying she was perfect, and yeah, she did make mistakes, but I don't really know if anyone could do anything different. And before everyone, I see people cheering and all that. Like, you don't know who's taking over, and you don't know how to run this, because no one's done this before. It's not like it's TV that's been around since the 40s or 50s.
Somebody in the chat says, "Can Slopes put his sign into party mode for us?"
They love that, including me. I love the sign. I love Slopes. All three of you helped me. Also, thanks for the Friendship Day on Facebook. Rise next to me and keep it up. Oh,
apologies.
Holy, that's bright. God damn.
I'm having a seizure. Moody6 says, "Hey Rich, you see the videos with the contaminated water where the train thing happened in Ohio?" Yes. It's actually... let's not even get into that right now, but that's not only a natural disaster, but in the next couple of months, we're going to see the actual effects of that. Quantum's Tickled Nipples donated $2. Thank you. He says, "Tommy is full of shit."
You think?
Yeah. WB Games would have Gauntlet be rated T if it came to the Amico. Disney and Sony have a deal that would prevent a Spidey game on the Amico. Is Tommy one of the all-time 3 Kickstarter scammers of all time?
Well, he never was he was never on Kickstarter. You could, let's say, crowdfunding. I would unfortunately.
He still says it's not crowdfunding.
Oh, come on.
He still. I mean, I say still. I mean, I've only spoken to him. Did I speak to him after? Yeah, I definitely spoke to him after the Start Engine. I'm pretty sure he would have said after then, or at least on lead up to Start Engine, he's never done crowdfunding. It's different.
Let me ask this: he definitely hasn't reached out to you, has he?
Not since the. Not since.
He's not going to. If anything, he's going to leave you a nasty message and then block you. That's what
so
do.
it was about 7 months ago, roughly. I'm making up that date, but it's around about there when I last spoke to him. Where he actually replied, and it was me just wishing him well after he had a death in the family, and that was it. That was it.
Yes, sadly, his dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look. As much as I don't really, Bullcrap, thank you for subscribing. We'll get to your message.
Cucumbers.
As much as I don't honestly like the guy, I don't, want anyone to go through that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just wished him well. And even before then, for maybe a month or so, we was chatting about the fact that there was an Earthworm Jim article in a Retro Gamer. I was making a remix of one of his songs just for myself, not for him. We were just talking about that. We didn't really talk about the Amico near the end. So, and then the very final message I sent him was, "Hey, are people starting to get test units?" He saw it. He didn't reply, and I was like, "I think that might be the end of our relationship."
Yeah.
Because I don't think we'll see anything beyond those test units. That's why.
I mean,
Puni Unit. Puni Unit says, every stream you guys do is romantic. I can't help it but think about Jay jumping on Rich off the top bunk and landing on his manhood, riding him like a cowgirl. Please keep up the homoerotic streams. Much love. Well, that's interesting. Thanks.
Slopes is like, all right, man, I'm out of here. All right, have a good night.
No. I've been listening for a while, man.
So you know our humor.
Yeah,
is bizarre.
I mean, it's just bizarre.
You aren't going to have a normal stream with us.
No, there's no chance. Listen, get on top of me. Okay, Nally Dude says, Slopes is Frank shooting ropes in his basement with Dreamcast guy? Question mark.
Oh, God.
Also,
you're
I'm
opening up
from
a
the
can.
UK. So Nally Dude's from the UK. That's,
Fulgrim Trimmy, Slopes, are you Aussie? Are you asking if I'm Australian? Can I ask you guys? Here, I used to be a waiter, and I think that's where I get my excited, because it was like a family restaurant. What you used to do when I used to serve people at this family restaurant.
I know what you're gonna say. You don't sound Australian.
Yeah. I would have to. You'd go down on your knees and you'd write your name. Hey guys, I'm Dan. When I started a YouTube channel, hey guys, I'm Slope. And you'd write on there and you say, what's your name? And you get chummy with the customers, better tips. And so many times, almost once a week, they would say, we've all been putting bets on where you're from. Are you Australian? And I'm like, no, it's born down the road,
What the hell? I don't think you
so many people think I think I'm sound Australian.
You do sort of. To me, you sound slightly Australian. Come down.
I wonder if it's the
Come
Slopes.
down there and move in with you.
The Slopes maybe too. I don't know, because Slopes kind of, I guess, maybe Australian. I don't know.
Well,
but your accent, not at all.
You're one of the only men that Beat 'em Ups hasn't tried to move in with. Okay, here's another one. Tickled Cucumber says, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. He's resubbed for 5 months. Thank you for that. We got Pooh. He says, 2 months in a row, total of 5. Appreciate it. Says, oh, God, here we go. The incident of May 1st, Philip Burnell. He had a thirst. He stroked his dick until it burst. And then from there, it got much worse. The incident of May 1st. Also, Jay touched me.
We are barely going to get into the fucking Amico tonight. But yeah, it was actually... Oh, guys, you asked for this. Remember there was the sound that I got really stoned the other day and forgot to save? It saved it, so you have it. Here you go.
Woo! Right up my ass, baby. I love it.
Whoa!
There you go.
Yes.
Philip Burnell.
Yeah!
90% of my soundboard is now filled. Do you guys realize that?
Grunk lives, thank you. 100bet says, the only thing Tommy will ever make is a shit even that... What? Oh.
Cucumbers.
I can't read this one. It's fucking moving. The only thing Tommy will ever make is a shit even that he'd want an award for. I guess he's trying to say Tommy
he'd even want an award for that shit.
For his shit. Okay. Hi, Daddy. Hi, Jay. Hope things are going well. Hello, special
When I noticed
guest.
something, hold on one second. He's already going back to Video Games Live like nothing happened, too, which is very strange.
Well, let's just... Okay.
I mean, I think that was a bit of an expected move from me. It was almost
no, it
like
was for me,
happen.
too. It was for me, too, but I'm interested to see... I mean, he's exposed to a degree. I've been doing YouTube full-time for a decade now, almost. And he's been exposed to a degree. He's like in the top 3 of people exposed. I wonder if that's going to haunt him with Video Games Live. Or they just won't know. It's a different audience.
I think it's a different audience because that's a totally different thing altogether. I think maybe like small group will be like, oh, I'm not going to this anymore, supporting that. But I mean, what he does at Video Game Live is amazing. Let's not pretend it isn't.
I never,
I
never saw it.
Bird, Rich,
And then
Jesus.
if I go along now,
If I recall, I remember you from your cameo
Maybe I-
on
maybe I
Octavia's
should just
video
do
with
it.
Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
Who was in a cameo with Plumbers Don't Wear Ties?
I'm sure
something
it was
about Octavius.
Slopes.
Oh, right, yeah, well, yeah. Octavius, she's Octavius is really cool. Octavius is cool.
So yeah, it's really like he's just gonna make it like the Intellivision never happened. He's never gonna address it. He's never gonna have. I don't think he'll ever do an interview again because he knows he'll have to talk about it.
Well,
like who's not gonna ask him about it?
It's Tommy, man. Trust me. If he could get, he's got such an ego that I bet you he's sitting back and he's like, well, everyone has a rebound story, and he's waiting for that to happen, I'm sure, so he can go in front of the mic and explain how it wasn't him that messed it up, it was the company and blah blah blah. That's coming, guaranteed. That's going to show up.
He was the CEO. How the hell is he going to say that?
It's Tommy. You could be like, Tommy's wearing a blue shirt, and he'll be like, oh, this is red, and he'd go to his grave saying it was fucking red. He's just one of those people.
I don't think the community, because there's a lot of people that were the diehard fanboys, Slopes, I'm sure you know, that hate him now. So I don't even there's some DJC just had a live stream called Amico Forever. I was like, stop.
Well, that's the name of his podcast. He's one of only 2 people that have an Amico, that outside of the company.
I guess technically he's allowed to have a podcast about it. He's the only guy that living has it. Oh man.
So he has spent his YouTube career following the Amico. I made a couple of little jokes about him in the video, but I didn't take any stabs at the guy because I feel sorry for these people that are it's for me. It's the same as me. I grew up on Sega. If Sega went down like this, I'd be crushed.
Yeah.
I'd be
Sorry, is
crushed.
this the guy that said my jaw's hitting the ground?
Yes, that was the My Jaws hitting the ground. Then there was the Retro Bro. Remember that was the guy? Right? Yeah, where he said a bunch. Tommy actually, from what I've heard, allegedly, because maybe I'm misconstruing some of the story, but the context is there. Tommy actually went to him and said, like, hey, you should, back me up here and go say something to Rich. And the Retro Bro went to me and said, like, my family should be ashamed of me.
I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I know Retro Bro basically went in very positive with the Amico to begin with, like many of us did. But
hey, even I did.
Yeah. I still find the system so alluring. It's probably my most wanted system. I'd love to get one just because. Oh my god, I've spent almost half a year talking about it and researching it. But he was actually ended up being one of the people that would host parties, and Tommy and his crew would come down into his little basement party areas.
The Retro Bro would host these parties.
Yeah, DJC and all that were all there. And he was even the person that organised one of the Crayola events, I believe. I'm almost certain of that.
He's a sketchy dude though, because he literally said on my podcast, or not podcast.
Oh
live stream, Jay was there.
We caught him.
No, I'm not even about the racist stuff. He admitted that he's like, yeah, I just was riding on the. I'm paraphrasing, but he said this essentially. I rode on the coattails of the Amico, hoping it would
pay off,
launch my YouTube channel. I'm like,
yeah, he's So I'm in what you would probably class as a hater Amico group. There's some people in there that really don't like me, and then there's other people that are a bit more okay, yeah. I went, can you guys help me find this picture of this, or maybe find this particular post? I'm struggling to find it. Oh my god, this video has gone down.
Cucumbers.
Because that's another thing that happened throughout the making of the video. I would research them, and then by the time I come to actually editing them, so many of the videos were getting deleted, or getting taken down, and I just
Who was the like people like Retro Bro were taking them down?
Retro Bro took down a couple of Intellivision videos that he was in. That sent them a takedown, and then I actually found a couple of interviews that were people were privatizing, and I was like, damn it, that had a quote in it that I needed,
Well, everyone's in full damage control mode now, that's why.
Yeah, to be fair, a lot of the people like Turbo Joe was one that was a hardcore supporter in the early days, and I had to use a quote from him. He was the one that talked about it filmed Tommy talking about the inverted controls.
Yeah,
like they'd done it just to wind up Pat and Ian. He was the one that had that footage, and by the time I got to that part of the script, he'd privatized the video. And I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, you can take it. Tell me what you want." And I'm like, "Fair play, man. That's what it's all about. You own up. You talk about the story leading up to this point, and you move on."
Well, you could wind up Pat and Ian by blowing them a kiss. It doesn't take much. So, yeah, I know. Look, yeah, I know. I give my take. That was an interesting ride with them.
No. I understand.
Oh God, let's stop. You know what? Like without us, he wouldn't get a bump in his views. So just put him back in his Italian basement and shut him up.
All right, yeah.
Bullcraft Max 4 months says Slopes did an amazing job on the documentary. I totally agree. The Amico saga has been crazy, especially since I also interviewed Tommy too when I had my old podcast.
As did every single one of your other people watching the world.
Had no idea rabbit hole. Had no idea of the rabbit hole I got myself into. Also, DK Oldies is insane. I agree.
Tommy, if someone said at a grocery store, like if a cashier said at a grocery store they didn't like the Amico, Tommy would have an interview with them.
Thank you to Neil for the sub. Thank you to Norwood Shadow for the sub. We have 100 bits. Says, hey, Rich J and Slopes, love the content.
Guys.
I don't know where this is going. Oh my God. I have a tall tree in my yard, and I'm already covered in cellophane on my chest. You know what to do. Thank you for that one. We'll just skate over that like nothing happened. Berto, thank you. 3 months. Said, hey, Rich J and Slopes. Good evening to you guys. Rich, love that Street Fighter banger you played the other day, by the way.
Thank you.
Nally Dude says, Slopes, did you ever talk to Doug
Tenaple? He's the creator of Earthworm Jim. So yes, I did. Interviewed Doug well before the days of before I interviewed Tommy. I think probably before I even spoke to Tommy.
That's the creator of
Earthworm Jim. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's not liked by a lot of people. Thankfully,
actually, what's the story of that? What did he do? He did something.
He is super homophobic and
oh god,
he's hardcore Christian, and he's that level of hardcore. I don't know what subgenre of Christianity that he's into or whatever it may be. I don't want to offend anyone here, but yeah, obviously he's very, very anti-homophobic, very anti-trans community, and all of the rest, and he's very happy to talk about that publicly, which obviously, is quite
and people were saying, Tommy, how could that's the thing about Tommy. He's thick too. People were like, yeah, you shouldn't have him working with you, and he's like, oh, you guys are so sensitive. The irony of that coming from Tommy.
Have you seen him? He's actually quite thick these days, by the way.
Who is thick?
Tommy's he's gorgeous. Anyways, Captain, that one over here. He's thick as in Captain. You saw the video. He's been just sitting around eating.
No.
What's that stuff Pat and Ian were throwing around with Frank? The strufel?
No, he's vegan, so he's been having too many Beyond Burgers.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's a vegan strufel.
Well, he wanted to change Burger Time to Beyond Burger Time, didn't he?
Yes, you said that in your video. I was dying when he said that. I was dying.
Dude, he's vegan. Actually, if you look at Victor Lucas, the side story, Victor Lucas is vegan, and he also does not eat sugar, which explains why he looks like a 20-year-old still. There's this fun fact for everybody. Rich, have intro guy fart. He wants the sound of him fart. This is great. Oh my god! This is just, you read this one. Don't even say it out loud. Just do what it says.
Don't you worry about having me on the stream and worrying about what you can and can't say.
I don't know. It's just
I've
all
listened
of a
to your
sudden it's
streams.
like
You
jokes,
can get
okay.
more hardcore than
All right,
this.
here we go then. Rich.
Oh, Rich, give me intro, guys. Fart with Phil saying it hurts. Oh my God, you gotta here.
Go ahead.
All right, so.
Oh, it hurts.
Oh no, Abby's breast milk is here, and if you want to hit the music.
And now I'm gonna masturbate.
Abby is here.
His voice.
But it's kind of weird. Oh, Phil, dude, and then you have.
Woo! Right up my ass, baby. I love it.
You got to play the music for Abby's. I got to read this.
Okay, go ahead. You can read it.
Go ahead.
But it's kind of weird that he's doing video games live now in Chile. And why Chile or Venezuela? Well, that's where he got a booking. Or South America in general. Sounds like he has money. If he has money to go to South America, I'm sure that even if he lost a bunch of money, Abby, with in television, that Tommy has some secure somewhere. That's usually how it goes with the likes of him.
Okay, well, let's go through these super quick so we clear it out. 5-month subs from Pooh. I just call him Pooh Unit. Slopes. Seen a video of you getting slapped with a fish. Love your work. Okay.
Yes, that's a real thing, by the way.
That a real fish or like a? Oh.
I can talk about. This is why I don't mind about how vulgar you guys go. I'll go into a little bit more history about what I did before the days of YouTube.
Okay.
That did include fishes getting slapped around my face.
It sounds like a sex thing.
Cucumbers.
Do together. Holy shit.
Doctors. I thought that was a glitch with friggin' Streamlabs. Thank you, Dr. Sexy Coco, gifting 25 subs. I was like, I thought the screen froze.
I thought we just exploded here. Well, I gotta also give a shout out to Dr. Sexy Coco, who supported my family off stream as well. I love you, man. Thank you for what you did there. 25 gifted subs. Can you guys give him a round of applause? He's always here, always supporting.
I'm going to give him a relax your anus and
Try to relax your anus.
Oh my God, here we go. Bram. Shout out to Bram. Shout out to Bram for supporting my family off stream as well. He says, Slopes, can we get a DSP documentary supporting your family?
You know what? I was thinking, like, what am I going to do next?
You should do one.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if you did if you made
but hasn't it been done actually? Didn't
yeah, but it's been done. But dude, do it in your style with the detail. I'd help you with it if you needed help. Like it would be.
Sounds good.
It'd be lunacy. You know what?
I don't want to upset people. The next video I do is going to be a more typical gaming history video before I move into another kick scammer video.
Phil would be like, if you think there was a lot of if there was a lot of footage to go through with Tommy, Phil is just buckle up if you plan to go down that road.
Good luck to you.
There might be too much footage there.
Especially because he edits nothing and just has hours.
It's all raw.
So basically, Phil, I don't know if you know the story, but Phil ordered food, and what happened was the driver put it by someone else's door. He took what I just said to you. He took that scenario, which I ordered food, and they delivered it to the wrong door. That's the story, right? Mm-hmm. Phil turned it into a 3-hour story, and it turned into like Bigfoot in the woods looking for his shrimp bowl, and fucking dogs were after. Like it's just lunacy. He goes on and staring at walls. It's lunacy. I better get to some of these. Richie, let's go for coffee. This is going to happen. I'll call you in about an hour. Says, sure, thank you. Dr. Sexy Coco says, I have come. Yes, you did, with 25 gifted subs. Appreciate you. Michael Towns, Game Boy Games.
Hey.
Cucumbers.
Tell Dan it's nice change to see him up early for a podcast for once. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, he's awesome. Michael Towns, he's a supporter of the show big time in my Discord and everything. Every stream I do, everything I do, he's a quality guy. Really quality guy.
So with the in television, like, they're looking to sell off
Cucumbers
before, like, their IP right now, right? They're like shopping around to see if someone will buy it.
So the latest, I'm trying to think what I can and can't say because I know things are getting shared about in these little groups that I'm in now. So I know So one thing that got brought up that I talked to you about yesterday, so this I can talk about.
Cucumbers.
Pico Interactive were one of the people that went to them to try and... Oh, no, this was actually well before. Anyway, that doesn't make sense. I'm trying to catch up with what's going on. Yeah, I think they're trying to sell, and I think it's looking at the fact that there's 6 or 7 figures they're trying to get for like some of the IPs. And they one of the claims, I don't know if it's just Phil Adam talking, but one of the claims that we've heard recently is that there are 3 companies that are interested, big companies. My mind runs to someone like Limited Run Games. Obviously, I don't know that for a fact, but that seems the sort of thing they would do. Of anyone, it's
just so weird because like they're all like, even like the old classics are like free to play
Cucumbers.
games. Like who would really? I don't know. Like I don't know where the profit would be in that. Is there that much? I mean, the Intellivision doesn't have.
Well,
even compared to Atari,
it's about the collections, right? I think that they're trying to get licenses to be able to say, here's 25 of classic and television games remade on a disc or a Switch release, you know, in the eShop. That's how they're going to try to get their money out of this, you know. Like I can't say who this is, but I know a YouTuber who's buying classic companies to go with his company, and it's a brilliant move to say like, you own one of these. I'm not going to mention what it is, but it is definitely a huge publisher from back in the day. That's fine. So that's what I think they're doing. At least that's also what I heard from my end, but who knows? Sexy Cuckoo says, I'd rather a round of your shoulders. Oh, he wants to hear your shoulders.
Your shoulders.
Thank you for that, man. Raw Dakota says, slopes.
Cucumbers.
Love your video. Watched it at work. People were very curious around me. Also, Jay and Rich get to the top bunk. Thank you. Mojo resub for 2 months. He says, in my hairy ass. Thank you for that. Jolly Roger, thank you.
Isn't this such a great interview? Isn't it a fantastic interview? Harry in the ass.
Cucumbers.
Demonic says, listen, I have your shrimp. Can I say I will come down there to fluff Jay before he gets on the top bunk?
Oh crap! I still have batteries in this Game Boy. Have you been keeping up, Slopes? Not just in general with the whole DK Oldies thing.
I've watched 2
Cucumbers
videos, maybe 3. I definitely watched the PlayStation 2 one. That was one I definitely watched. There was another. Oh, I watched obviously the NES one as well. And I feel like you might have done an Xbox one as well.
I did 3, yeah.
Yeah.
3
oh, yeah, I've watched them, yeah.
What do you think of what they're doing, though?
It's what I hate about this.
Cucumbers.
I kind of collect retro games, and I just don't want to because of people like them.
I know it.
I think that, like, look, I'm not saying it's right that they, like, okay, if they had, like, here, I'm going to sell this Game Boy for $1,000 as is, take it or leave it, and if someone's dumb enough to buy it,
Cucumbers.
It's not that that's okay, but fine.
Yeah.
But they're saying,
if you sold it for £1,000 and also said that you opened it up and cleaned it up and done everything else to it to make it the most amazing Game Boy you've ever seen in your life, this is analog Mark II, and then I bought it and it was like one that you just picked out of the bottom of your drawer and here you go.
That's my problem with
Cucumbers.
Yeah.
So and they also, companies like that, I think, inflate the retro game. You know more because you're more into retro than I am. Doesn't that stuff like that inflate the price in general?
Yeah, it's disgusting because the thing is, it's the same with this whole Amico thing. Like, we're in our niche. We all know about this sort of stuff because we're following it daily. But for the vast majority of people, they don't know about all this sort of stuff. I actually had a friend of mine, because he knows that I'm into retro gaming. He said, "Oh, look at this TikTok video," and it was a DK Oldies video. I went, "Do you know about DK Oldies?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "It's just nuts." If he was someone with a little bit more money, didn't really care. He's like, "Yeah, I got a N64 from these DK Oldies guys." You know,
that's where I think they're making their money from people who just don't know any better.
Oh, I'll tell you what, TikTok is the Wild West at the moment for retro gaming content creators. You can go on there. Like, if you go on YouTube and you start talking about, like, Doki Doki Panic is also Mario 2, it's just like, get out of town. This is the most boring, basic topic that everyone's covered. Go say that stuff on TikTok, which is now technically a bigger audience than YouTube, and everyone's like, whoa, this is brand new information. It's Wild West. It's brand new over there.
We gotta,
TikTok, Jesus
What's
Christ,
crazy is that I worked in game stores for at least 7 years of my life, and the number one customer is not hardcore. It's just a mother coming in and going, "Hey, my son wanted some game."
Yeah.
And they don't know better. They don't know anything about it. So that's what DK Oldies is hoping for, just to get those like straight up non-hardcore gamers coming in that aren't even gamers, that are just like, "Hey, I'm buying it for a friend or Christmas present, blah blah blah." You know, soccer moms. I guess we can't say that anymore.
No, we could say soccer moms. Jesus Christ.
Soccer fathers.
That soccer, whatever. But yeah, I think it's like people our age too, though. That like the last time they picked up a controller was 1999, and they don't know any better. And it's like, oh, they say they refurbish them, and I guess it's retro, so it has to be expensive. So fuck it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And they clean it and refurbish it. So they're not technical. They're not going to sit there and open it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think they got away with it for a real long time until the YouTube retro gaming community, or just the YouTube community in general, is like, wait a second, these things aren't being refurbished.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's like, you know, when the PlayStation 1 Mini came out, and it was terrible compared to what Nintendo and Sega were doing. But
awful.
It was awful, but I guarantee you the people that were buying it, that remembered the PlayStation, that was the last console they bought, they didn't notice that.
Did that have Castlevania Symphony of the Night on it?
No, I don't think so.
Ooh.
Maybe it did.
Let's get some of these because it's getting out of hand. Okay. Let's get Jolly Roger resub. Thank you so much for that, man. Sure, 100 bits says, Jay, I heard your cat jumped to her death. That's true. It's not true, though. It's funny.
It's just a joke because she does jump down every day from Edie's in a church.
Yeah, we don't need to explain that. You can tell in the background I'm in a church. Will you get on the top bunk and rise next to me? If not, I'm not coming down here anymore. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, buddy. What else we got here? Andy, thank you so much. Says, listen.
Yeah, why aren't Streamlabs donos working?
What do you mean?
Listen, Mr. Ibertson, I'd love it if you did a complete history video on Rich's ass. What has entered and what has left his hole. I would also love to see the near future of it. Ralph.
Let's go back to the beginning.
That'd be a 6-hour documentary.
Listen, I swear that's a April Fool's joke that we need to make happen. Michael says, go back to explaining the human guinea pig stuff at some point too. That's a great story. Sexy Coco again.
Let me read this one because I know what he's doing. It's from my commercial that I did. The Sega Genesis got that blast processor. Super Nintendo got my ass. So what does blast processor do? It makes you sexy, motherfucker. I know that's what he wanted, right? We are on Twitch now. I'm probably gonna get
yeah, we're banned. What's the last stream? Have you ever turned it on and off again? Look here, listen, hurts me in my basement. Some people saying that you look like the dude from IT Crowd.
The Sega Genesis got that blast processorizing. Okay. The Super Nintendo got my ass.
Oh, it stopped because it said ass.
No, I paused it because you read it. They said you look like the guy from IT Crowd. You do slightly look like him. What's his name?
I have no idea what the hell that is.
It was in the chat. Fuck. Oh well.
So it's a good show.
I love that show, except a lot of people don't watch it anymore for same reasons they don't listen to or like the Earthworm Jim guy. Roy from the IT Crowd. Yeah. So I was gonna actually ask you. When you're doing a documentary that's 4 hours long,
Jesus Christ,
you know, that ain't happening again anytime soon. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not happening. How can you just walk me through how long did it actually take you in terms of from the moment you started writing it to the moment you uploaded it and released it?
So when the day I released it, it rendered that day. So it was ready to go that day. In fact, it crashed at 98%, which just made me... Yeah, I cried over that. And it was a 33 gig file, the final upload. So what I had to quickly do was
the Sega Genesis got that blast processorization. The The
Oh,
Super
I'm
Nintendo.
sorry. I thought that was off.
It's
Thank
all
you,
good.
Zach.
It's all good. And then I rendered it again, and then I put it through Handbrake to make it a 5 gig file rather than the 33 gig, and it literally went up. And then I was sitting there waiting. Checks complete, go. So the day it came out was the day it was rendered and finished.
Do you edit on Mac or PC?
PC. I use
What
Vegas.
software do you use? Oh,
Vegas.
Vegas. They go back from being stable to being a complete nightmare.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every single session there'll be crashes. Every session.
Oh yeah. They.
You got to switch to DaVinci Resolve. It's free.
Is it really?
Yeah, for most of it. I mean, stuff that you're going to be doing on it, it's free.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally free. Trust me. Go download that. Trust me.
I want a Mac, but
So I started. I think it
The
was
Sega
near
Genesis
mid-
got that blast processor.
what the hell's going on?
I don't know.
Why does it keep reading that? Jesus Christ, it's so annoying.
I don't know. I got it off. You can't control Streamlabs. It wants to go nuts.
Then it won't read like 30 of them.
I don't know.
So mid to end October was when I started. Right, I'm going to properly start this. I tried to start a few times before that, but I only really like to do my videos when the story is complete, or I can try and give a nice roundup. And I remember once I tried starting it earlier, and then as I started, then review units or test units started going out to the 2 people that have them. And I'm like, my God, the story's still not over. So I kept stopping. And then I decided I'd finally start. And it was... I knew how I had to do it. So the way I do it, I just go through all of these. I have essentially like a mental checklist of things I have to do. Go through every single Twitter post of the
Cucumbers.
Twitter handle, which is essentially
How
Tommy's.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My
That's all right.
apologies. How frustrating was the fluidity of the situation as you were putting it together? Because I feel like every day something with that story changed.
Especially the Atari Age forums. So for people that don't know, the Atari Age forums obviously got shut down. If you've seen my video, you'll see eventually they got locked and you can't view them anymore, which is Tommy Tallarico's Q&A thread. But it was the ground zero for the insane amount of batshit. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, that's coming. Yeah. Spider-Man and Batman, we really like those. Are they coming? Yes, but not on launch. Like, that was his response. It's like, so I had to go through that day by day. And there are, I can't remember the number, but there were thousands of pages.
He lived on there.
He did. And I was so excited when I'd go through 3 or 4 pages and he hadn't replied. But then I started to realize that when he does come back online, like that would happen like when he went to E3 and he was away for a couple of days. But when he would come back, he would reply to every single person. And then I would have 4 or 5 pages of nothing but Tommy Tallarico. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. And it actually started hurting my finger where I was just like,
I wonder if
5 days.
I wonder if besides video games live, he'll ever work in the industry again. I don't think any.
I mean, I don't know.
On.
Music-wise, you know, like, how much money do you think he made off of Roblox since, well, they removed it, but he must have made a little bit of money off of that whole situation.
Not that much.
You don't
Not
think
that
so?
much.
I don't know. I really don't know. I know he was always saying, and this isn't stuff he's told me, but stuff that he's talked about in interviews and stuff, where he always said that we're talking to them about essentially I didn't add it to the list. I've just thought about it. I didn't add it to the list. A possible Roblox type thing coming to the Amico.
Oh, Christ.
Oh,
and that was kind of, it sounded like that was going to be his angle. Look, yeah, you can keep the sound, make me an exclusive Roblox. Or at least that was the impression he was giving.
Yeah, but you know what's, I got to say, watching your documentary on this whole thing, it's probably hard for, I mean, I guess you see it this way as well, but as a viewer, especially me being from Canada, there's like a moment where you watch Tommy start to ruin everything himself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like watching the documentary is so frustrating because you're like, you set it up in such a good way because we're all rooting for him, and then he shits on it himself. And you watch it go down and you're just like, why did you do this? Like, if he came at it, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. If you came at this from a different angle and you just played up the, hey, we're fun family. Yeah, there's a few teen-rated things here, but fun family, blah, blah, blah. If he just came at that idea and said, all these retro gamers have children now, this is for them, all the retro gamers would have stepped up and just, if that's all he said, and he didn't go on all of this, I really feel like it'd be
couldn't help it.
I know, but it would have been a huge different, like, Rich, let me just toss this to you. if Tommy just came out of nowhere and just said, Rich, releasing a system, it's, you know, how you grew up, but it's for your kids. You could sit down and play with your son and blah, blah, blah. And that's the angle he did for the whole run. It would have been massive. But, like, it's so sad.
It would have been massive if it was a $100 system. And if it was marketed right.
See, that, well, yeah, the price, of course, need to come down. But, I mean, if you really sold it as, hey, it's a thing you could do to explain to your kids, hey, I used to play this thing called the Intellivision, now you're going to play it, and blah, blah, blah. The marketing could have been so brilliant, but just watching the documentary, man, I'm like, oh my God, you watch him literally blow it.
He destroyed his he single-handedly
destroyed
his own company. He single-handedly, it's like, you handed him a bazooka, he turned it around and pointed it at his own face.
It's quite sad to watch because...
It's painful because I know he's a hardcore Intellivision fan. Like, he's not lying about that. I know there's one thing he's not lying about. He was a big fan.
No, he isn't. That's true. He definitely
can you imagine, like, I think to myself, like, you always think, well, what would I do if I was the head honcho at Sega, or if you was the head honcho at whatever company you love? And then you become that head honcho and you drag that name through the mud so bad that you might have just destroyed its legacy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
True. It's true. He did destroy it because that name now is tied into the whole fiasco. You're never going to get away from it.
Well, in the UK, it's an almost nothing name, and it was something I talked to him all the time about. Like, and I think I said it in my interview potentially. I can't remember, but I said to him, like, no one knows what an Intellivision is in the UK. No one does. You see people going around with Atari. The average person will know that, that's something to do with computers. But Intellivision, what is an Intellivision? Is that an old TV company? Is that, you know, they used to make microwaves? Yeah, like,
you know, it's not really known. I mean, it's known in like the niche retro circles, but beyond that, whereas, you know, it's the same here. You know, it really didn't. It was a blip in the radar, man. You know. The only reason I want one is because I want to they had someone ported Castlevania over to it. And not only do I want that, I think it would make for an amazing video. But yeah, no one really did.
There's some beautiful fan-created Castlevania games.
I can't believe they got it, and it looks so good on the Intellivision.
There's a ZX Spectrum version as well.
How does that look?
It looks bloody good considering what you would expect it to. It's still like, you know, like, the character is one color, and as it goes through, everyone changes to a pink color, you know, that sort of thing. But it's still, for the system it's on, it's impressive.
So I was going to just ask about Smash JT.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all know that he invested money. That money is just a fart in the wind now, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
I
think he's come to that assumption as well, realization now as well.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
Obviously, he hid the 10K. I've invested 10K video. He unlisted or privatized that. He unlisted it because I found a link that Intellivision put out in one of their press releases. I think it was to one of their investors, and it actually had his video. Look, I've invested 10K, and Intellivision sent that out to people. So the video link is still there. But when I spoke to Smash JT, he was very open. He gave me everything I needed for the video.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm wondering now, I got to ask you this because you know more about all these things than anybody really, because you've just researched it for 5 months of your life. As for the physical media that was actually sent out, do you see that becoming super rare and actually worth something one day, or do you think
there it is?
Yeah, all that stuff.
I have them somewhere. Destiny FOMO sent me those.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, I was. I don't even know where mine. I think they might be up my ass. I have no idea where they are. Like everything else, Jay. I know you're about to say something.
I don't know. I
kind of feel like they will, right? They'll kind of one
potentially.
Day. Yeah, I mean, technically it's a system that never saw the light of day, and it technically is part of that legacy. And I don't know. I'm imagining in like 10 years, if you look back the whole retro thing, Tommy's name will still be sort of known because of all the stuff he did. But that's sort of like a weird item, man. Like you're holding those things, and how many people have those? I'm wondering.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He claimed there was a lot more. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know he claimed there was a lot more than there was what was actually being sold, because obviously the haters, they were obviously hardcore investigating and all this, and they were finding between them, when they would buy one, their order number would only be 1 or 2 above somebody else's, so they could work out how much were actually getting sold, and it was nowhere near what he was saying.
That's another crazy thing in the documentary. You start to say the numbers that they're saying. Oh, we got this many, and it's so clear because of the documentary that all of those numbers are bullshit. You know, allegedly. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll say
even
like
have to say allegedly.
I know, but
but why would he say he? I think originally, by the time it got to Fig, and I put my pre-order down on Fig, but quite a lot later into the Fig's life. I think it still says it if you go there. If it's like 13,500 or something was sold, but then in later campaigns we've sold at least 6,000 units pre-orders.
And they don't even remember their own lies.
Yeah, I mean, well, that makes sense. You have sold at least 6,000, but why wouldn't you say 13,000? Because that's actually what you're claiming to have sold.
It's just
something's really bizarre there. And you know what was quite interesting? Tony TGD. I know you said you wanted to look at his interview. One of the more hardcore people that interviewed him. You know how I said he would go on an interview with anyone. So at that point of the documentary thing, what I do is I zoom down on Tony TGD's subscriber count, and it was 1,200, which is what he's at now. What I didn't point out was the fact that what his subscriber count was when Tommy Tallarico said he would do an interview with his biggest hater by far. Tommy Tallarico knew he was going into the firing line with this guy. How many subscribers do you reckon Tony TGD had when they agreed to an interview?
A few hundred, I bet.
13.
So
by the time the interview came about, it was 50, because of Tommy Tallarico, the word got out. And this channel went from 13 to 50, about 50, but it was 13 when the interview was agreed. And Tony's told me that himself. He goes, when you zoomed in and it was 1,200, Tommy Tallarico had said, yes, I'll do an interview of 13.
That's so Tommy.
13 subscribers.
Tommy.
He was easily his most hardcore hater.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, I get it from a certain standpoint as somebody like Tommy. I understand why he's doing it, but I just, it's like the whole George Lucas thing when he made episode 1. People are just, nobody came up to him and said, you know, George, maybe this is too much. With Tommy, no one went up to him and said, Tommy, you know, like, maybe you should not talk to everybody that's available. Like,
because he would only hire.
Well, there was Kevtris that did.
And what did he say about that?
So Kevtris went up to him. I did show the screenshots on that part, but yeah, Kevtris was someone that no one really knew who he was. He wasn't bragging about who he was, and he said, "Look, you need to stop." And I think one of the quotes he said is, "You need to stop looking for the glitch in the matrix." In other words, your name whenever you show up on any kind of YouTube video.
I told him the same damn thing.
Yeah, and you need to. I'm sure the CEO of Mackie D's doesn't go searching for his name every 5 minutes. And he fully stood his ground. No, I need to do this. You know, people are saying the wrong things about us. I need to make sure that the right information is out there.
And it's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, and he goes, well, look, I've had experience in this, and there's like, I'm sure your what you've had as experience is nothing compared to us. And it turns out Kevtris was actually one of the main, I think it was programmers for Analog.
Yeah, so, for the FPGA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
hey, Tommy.
Yeah,
hey Tommy, they released the console. Maybe you should listen. But
several. Yeah. He talks about how his days go, where he spends several hours at the weekends, even at the weekends, working on the programming for the Analog Pocket and whatever else it may be. And
I'm going to be picking one of those up.
I would like one. I'm not a fan of the form factor. I prefer the Game Boy Advance curved edged ones, like the
agreed,
rather than the more bricks like Game Boy. But still.
I really want one, but the prices in Canada is like $700. Good luck to you.
Yeah, you guys.
I've got a Mega SG and a Super NT, and I love them.
Me too. They're phenomenal.
They just work. I haven't got to sort out any. I mean, fair play to people that know what they're doing with Mister and stuff, but I just want to plug something in and put a cartridge in it, and it works.
Yeah, and it's like the original hardware, except obviously because it's HDMI out, it's
crystal.
Oh, it's crystal clear, and it's so much better than emulation. You know, at least in my opinion.
Oh, you hear it with music. Like I'm obsessed, a little bit obsessive with the Mega Drive Genesis, and hearing it, it's so nice. And then I've got the attachment, so technically I've got a Mega Drive, a Master System, Game Gear, SG 1000 to take all of those just in a Mega SG. So
well, yeah, that makes sense too because they were all based on the Z80 processor, I think. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
why they would work. Yeah, I'm a big fan of. But getting back to because this is supposed to be about friggin' television. I could talk about gaming shit all night. Yeah, that was the thing. He didn't listen to anything. Like there was no one that could get through to him. It was very. I don't understand how he lasted in the industry as long as he did, being that way. He must have either like intimidated people or, you know, like kind of like what he tried to do with that. You talked about this with the Ars Technica article that came out because they screwed up and publicly put out like the specs of the console, and Ars Technica did their job. Like he was threatening that the
legal stuff, wasn't he? Yeah. So the way that worked, it's only slightly different than how I said it. I said that the guy from Ars Technica, Sam, had found that via a Google search. In fact, it was actually someone else, a Reddit user. Not a Reddit user, sorry, a Discord user had found that by searching on DuckDuckGo for images of the controller, and it had come up with Intellivision.develop or whatever, and it was like, I've not seen these images before. And you click and it went straight through to the developer portal, and then there was all your information. It all got shared around that Discord, and that's obviously somewhere along the line, whether someone sent it to Sam or Sam was in there, you know, that's how it all got found out.
What's funny is that was that was a perfect example of the Streisand effect. If Tommy didn't flip out over that, it would have been a fart in the wind. But because he flipped out over it, everyone was like, "What's this weirdo flipping out over?" And it brought attention to it.
It's Streisand effect, 100%.
I gotta ask now. The documentary's out. You've moved on slightly from it a little bit. How sick are you of the Amico and
cucumbers?
I'm actually buzzing right now because it's cool that I get to speak to people about it, and people are coming to me. I mean, you might know this, Rich. Actually, I don't know why you moved over to a second channel with your live streaming, because I know you used to do it on your main channel, but I used to do live streaming on my main channel, and then I started realizing it was hurting my videos.
Oh my god, it absolutely does. Yeah, that's why I did it.
So it's taken a long time for me to bring myself back, because my videos used to get, you know, average 60+K, you know, whatever it be, but I'd be releasing them weekly, and then they started going down to closer to 10, and I was like, what's happening? And it's taken me a long time to repair. So this video is actually, you know, even though I'm talking about the Amico, it's buzzing, because I'm getting constant messages from people saying, wow, I only expected to watch 20 minutes, but I've watched 4 hours, you know, like, so I'm replying to as many comments as I can, you know, so I'm not sick of it yet.
Did you want to make it 4 hours, or did it just turn
I
into
had
a 4-hour
no
video?
idea how long the video was going to take. So I did a Castlevania complete history that was 2 hours.
Cucumbers.
Which makes sense because there's just so many Castlevania games. But the difference is, with this script, I would do a couple of lines, and then I would do a break. Here's a date. Next break, another couple of lines. So the script was so stretched out. I had just no idea what the end number was going to be. People kept saying 4 hours. I'm like, nah, 2 maybe, 2.5.
So was it? How many pages was the script? 400?
102 pages for the main script and 210 for the research.
I was close.
Holy shit!
I'll send them to you. I'll show them to you. They're pretty hardcore.
Knowing some about that, not as much as Jay, I just my asshole tightened up when you said that to me.
Serious question, Slopes. Do you ever plan to do a complete history of Metal Gear? Thank you for relieving my stress and helping me sleep over the years with your relaxing videos. I still can't find my shrimp.
So Metal Gear is one of those games that it took so long for me. I was like, I want to play that. Oh my god, there's another one. I really should get into that. Oh, there's another one. I really should get into that. And it's taken me a long time to get into Metal Gear, so I'm actually very behind on Metal Gear. Potentially one day I feel like I will have to do Metal Gear Solid, but I'm nowhere near knowledgeable enough to even touch that topic yet. So
yeah, when you want to do those deep dives, man, like well, you know now with the Amico, but you never know how deep those rabbit holes go. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to do a deep dive, you got to go deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, once you open up Pandora's box, you know, it could take forever to... So, it's crazy because like you find out some information and then you got to... That leads to other information and then it's like... Oh no! When do I stop? You know, like did you find that with the Amico script? It's like, okay, when do I stop talking about something because it just keeps going? Like, did you was that tough?
Yeah, I kind of knew it would catch people's attention when I got to the point where, and then this game was released, and then this game was released, and then this game, because it turned into, let's see how ridiculous this can go, and it didn't stop. And I thought I knew that would be the hook, you know what I mean? So I just.
Well, that was smart the way you laid it out on both sides with all the fucking ideas and then all of a sudden all the games. I, as an editor, I saw exactly. I knew what you were doing with that, and I was wondering. I'm like, at some point, as the creator of the video, you could just keep saying games, but you could just also say and then Tommy just said 50 more games. I don't need to go through them. I was impressed because you just kept going. You're like, oh, and then he said this and this. And I was like, holy shit.
176 was the final number.
So it's lunacy to when you break these things down and actually look at them from this standpoint. How many?
176 games he announced.
Oh, well, it's hard to say because as I did that list, I realized I said Gauntlet twice, so I had to remove that, and you don't see it because I've cleaned it up. And there was like, and I said another one twice, but then I realized as I was doing it, I went, oh my God, there's that one. Oh, I've got to add that on the list. And I've got to add that on the list. And I've got, and then I realized, so even though I was taking a couple away, I was adding some. And then also he said things like Sega games, and then later said things like Shinobi. Is that just the one Sega game he's talking about? Or is there more?
Yeah.
So I would say at least 170, but I would be so shocked if it's under 200 if you actually went through everything.
So I do have to ask this in terms of the tone of the video itself. And I mean, you could have easily made fun of some of the people in the video, but for the most part, you make fun of yourself. And
Right.
I want to know, how did you judge that tone? Like, did you say a joke about somebody in the video and then said, maybe that's a bit too much, or maybe I should maybe poke them a little bit here? Because there's a lot of people in this journey that could be poked around, you know? I'll poke you.
I don't think so. I tell you what, actually, I did hold back on one bit with Tommy himself because I just felt so crushingly bad for him. And by the end, I'm watching it through his eyes with that Willy Wonka thing, and I'm like, have I just destroyed his film, like his favorite film, and a room in his house?
How you did that ending, I was like, this deserves an Oscar. I mean,
well, basically, as I was doing it, and then I had that final bit to come out. I went, what can I put in here? And you'll notice that I've put loads of hidden stuff. I always hide things in my videos. For instance, the wallpaper behind the television is the lickable wallpaper from the first movie.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where J. Allard's holding a PSP, and inside it's Willy Wonka screaming like, "You get nothing," you know. It's such a tiny little bit. And I realised at the end I'll put that little quote where it's like, "So when do we get it? You don't. Why not? Like, you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir." There was one little bit that I cut out of that because the granddad continues talking before Willy Wonka starts shouting. He goes, "You're a cheat! You're a cheat! You're a swindler!" And I'm like, it works for the video, but like I can't do this. I'm crushing this man so much.
Yeah, because dude, I have to say, from another quote unquote film, you know, what you did is amazing. What I've done so far is decent versus what you've done. But as two sort of editor, filmmaker type people, when you cut to that fucking song at the end, and I knew what you were going with there, and just the slow pans and everything, I thought, if Tommy watches this fucking video, he's going to be in tears at the end of this.
Because,
dude, it's almost like you're...
Of course he watched it.
Well, of course he watched it, but it's the ending of that video is like you saying, Tommy, you had a dream. You had everything in this factory. You had all the power that Wonka had, but you blew it. And that was what you wanted, Tommy, but you blew it. And it's at the end where you're like, holy shit. like it actually made me emotional. I was like, wow, Tommy really.
So I tell you what, like I kept getting clips from the movie because there's a few bits where I got the bit where you got the smarky Willy Wonka where he's like looking, that famous meme, that in one bit where the screen pans over, you see it in the background. I do lots of little hidden things like that. So whilst I was editing, sometimes I'd have like random music playing or whatever else, and Pure Imagination came on, and I was just like sitting there. I was like, this is how I'm going to end the video.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it all just clicked. And I was just like, and I was sitting there and I'm like, with a spin. I'm like, with a spin, that can be the spin of the controller. And if you want to view paradise, I'm like, paradise, that's Earthworm Jim on the beach. And I'm like, oh my God, it's all coming together. And then I found the footage of him walking through in television with his arms out as if like this is the kingdom. And I'm like, oh my God, it's all coming together. This is how I'm going to end the video. And I just started freaking out and trying to explain to people. And I'm rabbiting on, like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have the screen come along and all this, the games are going to lift up. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, it'll make sense when it comes. It'll make sense.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of his... Tommy must hate the internet because he couldn't get out of his own way. And the internet made... People probably walked on eggshells after he garnered some success, and he was used to that, and he was used to the insulation that what his success garnered. Granted that a lot of it's not truthful. The internet basically just exposed exactly who he is, whereas back in the day, even I'm sure he was a nightmare to work with, but no one would say anything because he was probably cutting a lot of their checks.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thank you to Carmen for the 3-month resub. He says, "I'm so horny for my 3 months. I subscribe, bird." Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you for being horny and birds.
Gravity of Ghost 3-month sub says, "Here for the birds and the Amico again." Thank you, appreciate you. So when you came to the very end of it and you did that Wonka thing, Did you ever think of like did you go backwards and add a little bit more Wonka throughout it? Because you're like, this is a good,
as I got to and I knew that was how it's going to end, I was like, okay, so when I do my videos, I always do the intro last, because by that point I know roughly what the video is going to be about and I can add little bits in there. So I obviously had to say Willy Wonka obsessed, and then I was looking through and I'm like, Willy Wonka wannabe, that can go in there, and I'm going to throw like the you're always going to have the Willy Wonka posters, the Charlie and Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka posters behind it. I want to zoom in on the fact that he's got that Willy Wonka themed room. Little things like that. Just I want to constantly show off Willy Wonka in this. There's a few times when the camera pans and there's actually the Wonka logo behind it. You see Gene Simmons pop up every so often. Not Gene Simmons, what I'm talking... what's his name?
Gene Simmons is from Kiss, I think.
Kiss,
right?
yeah, he's the long tongue guy.
Wait, I thought we were talking about what's his name? I thought we were talking about Richard Simmons.
You're thinking, what the hell are you talking about? What
I don't know. On? I thought you put Richard Simmons in the
background. Gene Wilder. Sorry.
I thought I had to go watch the fucking video again for Richard Simmons cameo.
But yeah, I mean, he's a hardcore collector. He's got like some of the eggs from the film. He's got all the everlasting gobstoppers, those like weird, like I don't even know what those are like.
Yeah, those little. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's actually got those from the movie. I believe he knows that he knows some of the children, obviously now as adults. Yeah, he's like that. They were actually underneath the telly originally, but they because they were so different in color. Every time I panned out, it was your eyes just focus on that, and I'm like, no, I better get rid of that. The TV was a Sony or a JVC telly, and I changed that to Mattel Electronics because I thought that was a nice little gimmicky thing there for people out there that thought that was funny. The printers were called the ColecoVision and the Vega Plus, like just little things like that like the big scams and the here comes a new one.
I think a lot to what people don't talk about that kind of destroyed the Amico is the over-engineering of the controller. I think they tried they were trying to put what I think it's a square peg in a round hole or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, they were adding way too much.
It just was the disc, and it was just an antiquated design that they were trying so hard to modernize, and it just kept on falling flat on its face, and it didn't work well.
Well, it's also the fact that the screen is also meant to be a bunch of buttons, which I think is just terrible design. I mean, trying to do a double tap
Yeah.
You know, I heard people play Finnegan Fox saying, like, if you're trying to do a double jump in that game, good luck to you. Like, they never even got it to work proper. And I thought, you can't even get a character to double jump with the controller, and you're trying to sell me on how many games? Like, this is not going in the right direction.
What I never understood why they didn't do is, I was just trying to find it. I've got my Xbox Elite controller here, but the circle part's in the house. On the Xbox Elite controller, you've got like a D-pad, obviously, but you can take that off and then add like a circle-y sort of D-pad that goes over.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Why didn't they just do that? And then you could have a D-pad and a circle pad, and then everyone's happy. Tommy's got his beloved circle pad, and you've still got a D-pad. Everyone's happy.
But here's the thing that Tommy said that was the workaround for that. But they should have done that with the.
I know. I
disc,
didn't
too.
add this into the video.
He was such a what the bullshit artist said was that they had some guy from NASA that, like, designing some buttons to go on the screen so you could have tactile feedback.
Yeah,
how did that work?
Take them off stickers and essentially sticker buttons and put them into different parts of the screen, so you can everywhere is a button.
I mean, he's just living in the La La Land at that point. I mean, it's just lunacy to think it even got this far. But your video also just shows, like...
Can I just shout out? I just saw in the chat, you got Joey
go
Freeze. Joey Freeze is the voice of Tommy Tallarico in my video.
Oh, is he really? You can have your shit and eat it too. Yeah, I believe he said NASA.
To be fair, I think of a Richard Simmons workout video whenever I hear the Exposed song. It has me shooting loads like it's May 1st. Spread those cheeks, confess your sins, and I'll give that ass some Holy Communion.
Woo! Right up my ass, baby. I love it.
Thank you, Tommy. So that was, let's just get this straight. That was Tommy's Catholic priest who donated. Thank you.
Tommy's Catholic priest.
Our viewers are lunatics. I mean, I don't know. This is the last stream.
Well, if you think about it too, Slopes. They had Phil Adam, who's now the CEO, aka he's probably getting paid six figures to write a letter every few months.
He claims he's not earning any money now. He doesn't get paid for in television.
Where's the money going to come from?
He has shares in the company, and therefore he wants it to be a success, and therefore he will earn money from that.
Money back, yeah.
That's what he's saying. I mean, I've got no reason to believe or not believe. I don't know,
But Phil Adam was part of the Coleco Chameleon shit. Even though allegedly he wasn't a part of it, he didn't put the whole fake prototype together that Mike Kennedy, the rocket scientist,
No.
But think about it from Tommy's perspective. You're another person who's trying to make a niche retro console. You have a guy who was part of a team, even if he was hands off on that part, who was part of another niche retro console that ended up being a scam in the end, where they put a fake motherboard in. Why would you hire someone that was affiliated with that? You don't think that community is going to look into that and find that out? Oh my God. When I found that out, I almost shit my pants.
That was a massive mic drop moment for the community. It's like, what was he involved in? Really?
Yeah, and then you have the guy from Earthworm Jim, and he's defending him. I'm like, really? This is the hill you want to go on, Tommy? You really want to do all this? Okay.
It's a tough one.
It's incredible. I don't understand how... I mean, look, the console had an uphill battle. I understand. No matter what, even if you had someone sane running the company, but he just squandered everything and screwed up around every corner. It's incredible.
I said, it's painful for me because he was someone that I looked up to as a youngster. I knew him before I knew more obvious names like Shigeru Miyamoto. And, this is the sad outcome of it. But but when I went to go to the Sega office, when I finally got invited to go to Sega, as someone that's always been obsessed with Sega from the Mega Drive onwards, when I got out of the train, where is the Sega building? And I finally looked over the bridge and I saw that big building. It had the big blue Sega logo on it. I was like, oh my fucking God, I've made it. This is me being a voice on The Simpsons. I don't need to do anything more than this. I was so happy. And you went in those offices and I'm like, they looked really nice. You got big logos and there was a Jet Set Radio themed wall and stuff. And I was like, this is cool, but it is just an office. Now you go look at the Tommy Tallarico and television walk-around videos. They are super, super luxurious for a console that not come out yet. And it looks like they're like Google buildings or something. The amount, those chairs that the chairs everywhere that no one's sitting in.
Yeah,
there were like
there's
£700
not enough
each
employees. Yeah.
That never made
nuts.
sense to me either. Like, I've been in the Ubisoft head offices in Toronto, and the money that goes into just having an office in a building like that is unbelievable. People don't like the lunches that come through the door. We're talking thousands a day just on food coming into the kitchens. And I mean, when I saw that video of Tommy giving the tours, I thought these guys are like, they've just taken all this money from all these people, and they're just living a sweet life. It's going to last them 8 months, and then they're going to be out on their asses. That's exactly what happened. And it's so sad to think that there was some people that followed Tommy, you know, into those offices and thought, oh my God, I believe in this thing. Tommy's really going to lead us somewhere, and, you know, bet their careers on it. And now, I mean, I would be embarrassed to be on that team that actually went in the office that tried to make this successful.
And a lot of YouTubers' credibility, which, hey, you know, they were adults, but a lot of YouTubers' credibility are now ruined because of a lot of those smaller YouTubers who rode that train. You know, it's going to be tough for them to be anyone to consider them credible again.
Well, no, it goes into what you were saying to me earlier about, or in the DK Oldies video, we'll wrap it up with this sort of thought that you were saying, and you keep saying in the DK Oldies video, and it applies to Tommy, if Tommy just came out, or these people came out and said, listen, we've made a mistake, we've learned from our mistakes, we're going to do better, we apologize, and personal apologies to everybody, and blah, 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 that's the way you turn the story around. But like DK Oldies, they're insane over there. They're just like, well, our consoles are clean. Every console we send out is clean. And we're like, no, we've proven you wrong, including like Jacob R. We've all proven you wrong. And they're still, to this day, saying, no, every console is cleaned and all this. And it's just like, Tommy, just stop for a second. I mean, it's too late for Tommy to do this, but it's just, I don't think he could ever survive this. But I think that seeing a bunch of the YouTubers say, like, listen, I made a mistake, I fell into it, and you know, blah blah blah. I think they could still salvage.
There's a lot of people that are. There's a small minority that are really clutching on to this thing still might come out. If you want a deep dive into the obscurity, there's a website. There's a YouTube channel called Goose. If you search for Goose and then Amico, he does the most ridiculous edits. It's actually it's insane.
You mean of like the people still to this day thinking it's coming out?
Yeah, you got those. There's the coming soon stream, and he's clipped together all of the times that they've said, yeah, I think we'll be getting some news soon. There should be some news soon by the end of the month. I think we'll be getting some news soon at the end of the month. And it's just like loop, and they're still holding on. But there's also some other stuff that he's done which is just hilarious.
Well, it's lunacy what Tommy did. Like at one point, Tommy said, I remember what was said. I don't remember exactly how it was said or how it went down, but I remember when Rich went from sort of like, okay, I'm kind of into this, and yeah, okay, come on my show, and then all of a sudden he's like, I don't like this anymore. At some point, Tommy either messaged me or somebody and said, how dare Rich, what was exactly the words? He said, you know, Rich or Jay or whatever, there's people that have disabilities that love this game, and you're putting these people down by saying it's shit.
Oh,
I can't work out if he. I'm still in two minds on whether he believes what he's saying or if he's being malicious.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. Full stop.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember thinking at that point, like, this guy's lost his goddamn mind. Like, yeah, it's like Rich said to the disabled people, like, your game is shit. We didn't say that. Like, it's unreal that he tried to use... In reality, he's trying to use them to make things better for his company. It was like, oh my God.
Well, it's like the bloody handprint with Karen Ferguson. Well, anyway, Slopes, thank you so much for coming on, man. If you want to shout out your channel...
Karen Ferguson?
If you want to shout out your chat, actually, I'll find and put it in the description. Or,
Cheers,
I'll put it in.
That'd be quality.
So I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to be doing like an after show now because I know people have a bunch of bits and questions to answer, and I know it's like 2:30 a.m. over there.
Yeah, just gone 2:30. Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
So this was an early night for me during the final month of the Amico. editing sprees.
Well,
so,
you know what you need to do.
But
is
I'm okay. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I know those.
Sit back now and sort of enjoy the.
Just enjoy the success of it. You know. What
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
saying?
what you did was incredible. I mean, if Rich ever came to me and was like, "We got to do this," I'd be like, "Just
Cucumbers.
Get Slopes to do it because I'm not doing it."
Well, no, I appreciate it. That's really, really cool. Thank you.
All right, not a problem, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Cheers, peeps, and yeah, keep it up, guys. And I'm looking forward to when you do more parts, the watch-alongs. I'm actually, it's become a bit of a ritual for me, waking up and watching people react to my video, and I'm loving it. It's quality.
Yeah,
because I've been watching Review Tech USA before everyone, back in the day, since everyone thought you was that guy, including myself, the intro guy. Everyone thought
oh my
you was the intro guy.
God! Yeah, I'm old and been doing this too long.
Definitely under 100K, but I can't remember when about. So
oh yeah. Watching. When people thought I was intro guy, then they saw me like, who's this bald fat dude?
Yeah, I had no idea. You look completely different than I was expecting you to look.
Everyone says that, and I believe them.
Yeah, there we go. Well, look, anyway, cheers, peeps. Quality chatting to you, Jay. And,
yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll do this again. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a good one.
Do I just press leave and that's
it?
How
do you do it? Because I went to remove someone one time and they like punished them.
Well, dude, no. You know how you set up the thing on that website? Just go to there and you end the camera there and then leave the call.
Okay, I'm doing that now.
Right,
yeah, I see it. Right, quality. Pipe.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye,
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And now I'm gonna masturbate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
La 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 la.
Yeah. Go for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Woo! Right up my ass, baby. I love it.
Ban Amber Heard's turd, please.